Reset. Welcome to the May 25th, 6:30 p.m. council meeting. We do have a quorum, so I'll call this meeting to order again. Would you please join me in a moment of silence? And the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. City Clerk, would you please read the rules to speak?
Yes, sir. Individuals wishing to speak on public and non-public hearing agenda items must complete a sign-up card and present it to the clerk prior to the item being introduced. Those wishing to speak on quasi-judicial public hearings must complete a sign-up card and sign the oath. Sign-up and oath cards are available on the table in the chamber. Individuals wishing to speak on non-agenda items may do so under petitions from the public present. This opportunity is offered twice in the meeting, and individuals may speak at either the first or second petitions, but not both. No sign-up card is required. Citizens shall not comment on any issue more than once during the meeting. All comments except petitions and requests must address the pending issues, and citizens will be given 3 minutes to speak on all items. Citizens wishing to speak on the consent agenda must submit a comment card identifying the items of interest. Speakers will be given 3 minutes per item. However, citizens wishing to speak on more than 3 items shall be limited to speaking for a total of 10 minutes, regardless of the number of items.
Thank you, Clerk. Now we move to the approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of March 23rd, 6:30 and April 27th, 5:30?
So moved, sir.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote.
Member Robinson?
Yes.
Member Jordan?
Yes.
Mayor Diesel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nelson?
Yes.
Member Stokel?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. City Manager.
Yes, sir. We are on item 5A, which is the Public Works Department's overview of their department. And Mr. Cook will be presenting a video to council.
Thank you very much. Mr. Cook and company.
ANC. Yeah, so we do have a spotlight video. Thanks to Media Service working on that, and Sandra Reller and Chrissy Lake from our staff were the ones that really put together for us. So let you take a look at it.
We very much
be
look
happy
forward to
to
it.
answer
Thank
your
you.
questions.
The Public Works Department, under the leadership of Public Works Director Kevin Cook and Deputy Director Sandra Reller, is comprised of 102 employees, ranging from service workers to professional engineers, organized into 8 divisions: engineering, facilities maintenance, fleet management, solid waste, recycling, stormwater management, street maintenance, and administration. The Administration Division oversees the development of the department budget, serves as a major point of contact for citizen requests, and oversees the implementation of the many public works objectives.
Value of department budget, $17.7 million.
The Engineering Division is responsible for the design and construction of infrastructure projects and consists of the city surveyor, project engineer, and engineering assistant. City improvements include road and drainage improvements, traffic control systems, sidewalks, bike paths, and the city's road repaving program. The Engineering Division also works with the Street Maintenance Division on speed and traffic studies, street sign locations, road striping, and speed hump installation projects.
Value of CIP budgets, $14.6 million.
Facilities Maintenance is responsible for the repairs and daily maintenance of city buildings and facilities, and consists of the facilities manager, traffic signal electricians, and maintenance mechanics. Facilities also maintains and repairs traffic signals, pedestrian crossing signals, the Sandpoint Park splash pad, and the streetlights on US 1. Facilities has both a master electrician, HVAC certified technicians, and a journeyman electrician on staff. Facilities staff have gone through training to become traffic signal technicians.
43 traffic signals maintained. Maintained 270 white-way lights with approximately 650 fixtures along US 1. Completed 730 work orders in the last 12 months.
Fleet management provides preventive maintenance and repairs to vehicles and equipment for all departments in the city and consists of the fleet manager, equipment mechanics, inventory control clerk, and clerical assistant. Fleet management staff are highly trained with several employees holding multiple automotive service excellence and emergency vehicle technician certifications. Fleet employees also maintain the fuel service that supplies most city vehicles. Finally, fleet management ensures the safe disposal of used oil, filters, and tires according to the Department of Environmental Protection and Environmental Protection Agency guidelines.
Responsible for maintenance on close to 500 city vehicles and equipment. Managed over 3,300 vehicle repair work orders in the last 12 months.
The solid waste and recycling divisions are responsible for residential weekly garbage and containerized yard waste pickup and bi-weekly recycling pickup. This department consists of the solid waste manager, foreman, equipment operators, service workers, container mechanic, cart maintenance worker, inventory control clerk, and administrative assistants. They also provide bulk pickup upon request, which are required for large waste piles and large items such as furniture and appliances that cannot fit in garbage carts. Solid Waste provides commercial dumpster pickup for over 900 dumpsters throughout the city. Commercial customers can request to have their dumpster picked up from 1 to 6 times a week depending on their needs. Solid Waste provides maintenance and repair to garbage and recycle carts at no charge to residents. Solid Waste also provides disabled and elderly service for residents that are unable to roll their carts to the curb.
Collects on average 3,000 tons of refuse, recycling, yard debris, and bulk junk per month. Completed over 1,200 cart repair requests in the last 12 months.
The Stormwater Division maintains and repairs all publicly owned open drainage, closed drainage, and retention pond systems within the City of Titusville's jurisdiction. The department consists of the stormwater supervisor, foreman, crew leader, equipment operators, service workers, and administrative assistant. Stormwater employees are responsible for repairing and maintaining public ditches, inlets and stormwater structures, and storm pipes. The Stormwater Division is responsible for cleaning the baffle boxes along the river on a regular basis. Stormwater employees are trained and have received certifications on stormwater operation, stormwater erosion, and sedimentation control inspections, and are certified in temporary traffic control methods. Additional responsibilities of the Stormwater Department are to implement projects to improve the quality of stormwater discharges into the Indian River Lagoon and St. Johns River, and to reduce flooding issues throughout the city.
Maintains over 75 miles of stormwater pipes, 2,200 inlets and structures, and 30 miles of ditches. Completed over 260 citizen request orders in the last 12 months.
Street maintenance is responsible for maintenance and repairs to all city-maintained paved and unpaved roads and streets. Street maintenance consists of the street maintenance manager, foreman, crew leaders, equipment operators, service workers, and administrative assistant. Road maintenance is provided through grading of the city's dirt roads, repairing potholes within 72 hours of receiving complaints, and repairs to curbs and gutters. Maintenance also includes sidewalks, bike paths, street signs, road striping, median beautification, weed control, and maintenance of the other right-of-ways within Titusville's jurisdiction. Street maintenance employees have received certifications in temporary traffic control methods, proper street signage, and proper installation of pavement markings.
Maintains over 200 miles of public streets. Completed over 500 citizen request work orders within the last 12 months.
The Public Works Department employs a full-time training coordinator who provides one-on-one training with new and experienced employees on equipment operation, training for CDL licenses, how to inspect their vehicles prior to operating them, and more. Training involves hands-on practical experience on operating the equipment to ensure proper operation and the forming of good work habits. Each division contains administrative professionals led by our operations administrator. They are responsible for a multitude of administrative duties, including answering calls and questions from citizens, receiving and paying bills, and obtaining quotes from vendors. They are the front line of our department, and we couldn't function day to day without their hard work. Department employees are committed to working together to efficiently provide, operate, and maintain public works infrastructure that touches every citizen of Titusville, and to provide necessary services to make everyday life as safe and convenient as possible for the residents and visitors to Titusville.
Wow. Lots of different areas. Public works means everything. So, again, great presentation. Thank you for what you do. I've been out there to visit a few times, but even as you visit, you don't see everything you're doing. So I appreciate that. Council, anything anybody wants to add? Wow, that was easy. That's an outstanding report on an outstanding job. Thank you so much. City Manager.
Yes, sir, Mayor. We are on item 5B, which are letters of appreciation that were received for the following employees. I'd like to read those for the record. From the Fire and Rescue Services Department, Sean Holbrook, Justin Johnson, Aaron Jolly, Patrick King, David Martin, Jeffrey Trafton, and Shane Wilson.
Thank you very much. Sometimes it doesn't seem like enough sometimes just to read a letter, but we do recognize them separately. And, I just listen to the different departments every time that these letters come in from the public. And I appreciate the public being willing to take the time to write a letter, or even people within the department. So I appreciate those very much. City Manager, we move to 6.
On to 6A, this is the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee. The city continues to recruit members for the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee. As a result of the most recent recruitment campaign, staff has received one additional qualifying application that wishes to accept the recommended appointment of Mr. William Bill Gary to the committee for the vacancy classification of advocate for low-income people. Additionally, since 2008, the AHAC appointments vacancies have developed, resulting from resignations and change of residency, leaving a minimum of 2 vacancies. Staff is requesting council's approval of Mr. Gary's appointment to the AHAC and confirming Councilmember Joe C. Robinson's service on the committee through the adoption of Resolution 16-2021. Staff also requests that the appointment to the AHAC automatically renew each required cycle unless a resignation is requested or a member is no longer meets the qualifications.
Okay, very good. I see Mr. Gary is here, and before we move forward, I would ask if Mr. Gary wants to say anything about what we're doing here today. Appreciate that. Oh, sir, how are you?
I'm fine.
Is it not on? It sounded like it.
Okay.
There you go.
I'm fine. I appreciate this opportunity. If you approve my nomination to the advisory committee. As you know, I've been in the city for many, many years, very well versed in the different sections of the city. And although, most of us are doing well and living in very good housing, there are all persons in our communities that really need affordable housing. So hopefully we'll be able to help out in some way.
Well, I appreciate that. I will say for myself, being here many years in similar circles sometimes, you're always there to help. I think the thing that I look at you and think he's a difference maker. And I think this couldn't be a better place to do that. So with that said, is there any other council comment? No other council comment. Okay, you can have a seat then.
Okay.
Member Robinson, would you like to say anything? Mike.
Thank you, Bill. That's it.
We're going fast tonight.
Oh, my God.
All right, very good. Then we approve the appointment. We need to approve the appointment of Bill Gary and confirm Councilmember Joe Robinson. Do we do them separately?
You can make that one motion.
Okay, then let's. I need a motion and a second.
So I'll make that motion.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote.
Can I ask who made the second there?
But Member Jordan.
Okay. And approval includes the resolution as well?
Yes.
16-2021? Okay, that would be Member Jordan.
Yes.
Mayor Diesel.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nelson.
Yes.
Member Stokel.
Yes.
Member Robinson.
Do I vote or abstain?
Yeah, abstain. I would think. I'll
I
ask
abstain or vote?
because he's voting for himself.
Right. As a council member, you're required to vote on anything before the council unless there's a conflict of interest or a possible, or appears to be a possible conflict of interest under 112. That is couched in the terms of anything that would inure to your personal private gain or loss, which is typically in an economic sense. My understanding is this is not a paid position.
Yes.
But if you believe that there's a perception of a conflict of interest, you could abstain. Otherwise, you could vote.
Okay, no conflict of interest, so yes.
Very good. Motion passes unanimously. And we move on to B.
Item 6B is the Planning and Zoning Commission. Currently, there is one vacancy for a regular member with an unexpired term to expire on January 31st, 2023. There are 4 applications on file for consideration. Mr. Danny Aton, Mr. Christopher Childs, alternate member, Mr. Robert Johnston, and Ms. Kathleen Riley, alternate member. They have all expressed their willingness and desire to serve on the Planning and Zoning Commission as regular members with an unexpired term to expire on January 31st, 2023. If alternate members Riley and Childs are not appointed as regular members, they would like to continue to serve as alternate members. Alternate member Riley her term currently as an alternate expires on January 31st, 2022.
Very good. Thank you. Would we accept resignation of Joyce Parrish first, separately? Right? Okay. Do I have a motion to do that?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the resignation of regular member Joyce Parrish.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll
With
call.
our thanks. With our
Yes,
thanks.
absolutely. And we always like to say that. I agree. Do we have any cards?
Yes, we do.
I'm glad I asked.
Stan Johnston.
You don't want me to go first, do you?
Well, you're the only one.
Well, there's other people here to speak, I think. Captain Rowley, maybe?
You know we're talking about Joyce Parrish's resignation.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, no worries. Thank you, sir. Okay, I have a motion and a second. I have no cards, unless there's another card.
Yes, sir.
Okay, roll call vote.
Mayor Diesel.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nelson.
Yes.
Member Stokel.
Yes.
Member Robinson.
Yes.
Member Jordan.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously, and thank you, Ms. Parrish. All right, now we move to where we need to appoint a member if we don't move an alternate up. So I need to hear some discussion there first. Vice Mayor Nelson.
My thought is Ms. Riley has been with us for a while as an alternate. I know she's been attending the meetings. So my vote would be that we move Ms. Riley up and we appoint Mr. Aton as an alternate.
Are you pushed here?
Red button?
I don't have a name there. That's why I'm asking.
Oh, I don't have a name.
Okay, there it goes. Okay, Member Jordan.
Mine is a little different. I actually would like for Mr. Akon to be the primary and leave the alternates as they are.
And Member Stokel.
That was going to be my recommendation as well. I feel like I've been reading the minutes of our P&Z meetings. I've been watching the video, and I feel like Mr. Aton would be an excellent choice for serving in that capacity.
City Attorney, last time we went through this, and I see different nominations. The last time we did it, we went through and gave the name. Give me an idea how you want to do that.
At first, we'll take cards, and after all the cards and everyone spoke, then each council member can nominate an individual. And after nominations are closed, then each council member will vote for one of the persons nominated. The individual with the most votes will be appointed.
All right, thank you very much. Call the cards, please.
I believe Mr. Johnston wanted to speak on this section of P&Z, on the appointment.
I wanted to speak as one of the applicants.
Okay.
That's what we're doing.
Can I do that?
Yeah.
I mean, you already seem like y'all went out of order because you went ahead and made your
Get up here, buddy.
No, we didn't vote. I always go council first, card second, then council again.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to speak on okay. Here, there's 4 candidates here, and I know of 2 of them. And there's one who I know is Catherine Riley. She's been an attorney for 39 years, a practicing attorney, president of North Brevard Democratic Club, and so forth. So, and she's got Jolene Nelson, attorney Kathleen Smith as references, and that's real good. There's another fellow on there who has some references, Billy Fitzgerald, Sean Williams, who was with the P&Z for about 18 years, and he was also former chairman, and Richard Vitopka, who was a former city engineer, and they also references Scott Ellis, which you might cringe at a little bit because of his political hardline things. So that happens to be Mr. Johnston, and he was hired by the city in 2000. And interestingly, is that when he was hired, they said they wanted to hire Mr. Johnston, but he gave them a figure that Human Resources said we can't pay that guy that much money. It's far above what we can pay him because we're not offering anybody that much money. So it was a few thousands more, and by golly. They changed their mind and they hired Stan Johnson. That's Robert Johnston, same thing. That's me. And as you know, it's a few years later after I retired. I continued in paying, and when I retired, I was still at the very top of the level of payment. In fact, when they came by for raises, they couldn't give me a raise because I was already up the top. So. But in the meantime, since a few years ago, is that the city has got some kind of scam or something about me, about some kind of a report that Stan Johnson is a worthless, incompetent engineer, whereas before he retired, he was paid top salary by the city for being an engineer for the city. So I think it's kind of interesting is that that we do that because in this case is we have Mr. Scott Larice. He's a liar and a cheat and a shyster. So he hasn't got nothing to do. So anyhow, I'm disappointed about this. But anyhow, I think that Kathleen Riley would be a really good choice for this. And Mr. Johnson's not a bad choice either. So thank you for letting me share this with you. And remember what I said, because I'm not accusing anybody of anything, is that presently I've got some things that are about me that are complete rumors and false, that are easily shown to be fraudulent, and that has to do with this guy right here, your city manager. So thank you for letting me.
Thank you.
Oh, wait a second. I still got a few seconds left.
Yeah, we started late.
So again, is that I would like you to consider, especially Catherine Riley, which I can also vouch for.
Over there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, go ahead.
Just want to take exception to Mr. Johnson and his description of our city manager. I, for one, certainly don't agree with him, and he's gotten up here many times and said some of the same things, and even though he's saying that we've got all these rumors about him, it goes the same way where he's saying a lot of things about us and the city manager that are not true. So just want to disavow anything that he's saying and just say shame on you.
Okay. May I respond
Nope,
to that?
nope. There we go. All right, do I have other people here, the other two candidates?
We have one more card.
Well, no, we just had a candidate speak with a card. Okay. All right, go ahead with another card. Who's the card?
Laura Lee Thompson.
Own County Commission.
Laura Lee Thompson, 3550 Irwin Avenue, Mims, and I think that Kathy Riley deserves the opportunity to step up. She's been an alternate member. Even though the alternate members aren't required to attend the meetings, she's been coming to the meetings and she's been doing a good job. I'm sorry that we lost Joyce. I think Joyce was doing a really good job. But I think Kathy would be a good replacement, and I think Mr. Aton would be an excellent choice to move into the alternate position, and then maybe he can move up. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any more cards on that? Okay, so now I have any of the other candidates that are here who would like to speak. I know I do. Will the real so-and-so please stand up?
It's been a pleasure serving on the Planning and Zoning Commission, and I think I'm going to get certified as an arborist because I've learned so much about trees lately. And but it's been very interesting. I've really enjoyed it, and I've enjoyed working with Riley as well. And I think she'd be a good choice. But I'll definitely serve as a regular member if you so choose.
Thank you. And Ms. Riley.
Good evening.
Hi.
I think I've seen each of you either on the Zoom or possibly in person. I appreciate your service to our community. I love Titusville. I raised my 3 daughters here, and I love the parks. I love the bike paths. I love walking along the river. It's such a beautiful place. There's a lot of people that are naysayers about Titusville, but there's way more that's good about Titusville than is not so good. So thank you for your service. For the last 8 months, I have served on the Planning and Zoning Commission as an alternate. And this was a lot of it during our wonderful pandemic. And I want to thank you for issuing an order that allowed us to serve virtually, because a lot of those meetings I had to attend on the computer. Serving on the Planning and Zoning is a lot of work. It's kind of like being an attorney. There are hundreds of pages of documents that you have to look at every 2 weeks when there's a meeting. And I actually like doing that. It's something that I'm used to doing. I remember one time as an attorney, I was given an assignment I needed to research the records of a particular company, and they had a warehouse, a room full of documents, and they said, help yourself. I spent the whole day having fun reviewing every single document in that room, which is probably 5,000 or so pages. My opponents want to serve just like I do, and I think they probably love Titusville just like I do. The only thing that separates me from the opponents that at least I know is of my experience. I have 39 years experience as an attorney. I have 22 years being a small business owner in Titusville. For 30 years, I've owned commercial property in Titusville. For 40 years, I've owned a home. I began retirement in 2017, and one of the first things I did was to join the Cape Canaveral National Cemetery Support Committee. And I became the chair of that committee. And for 2 years, I oversaw the patriotic programs that were put on at the cemetery that honored the deceased veterans that have given so much to our community. I initiated the program that you now read the names of every Vietnam veteran that is buried at Cape Canaveral National Cemetery during the year that they are buried. Their names are read in March in a special Vietnam honoring service, and I'm the one that initiated that. I continue to serve this organization. I prepare their tax returns.
Hold up, can you finish in 1 minute?
Yes, I can finish in 1 minute. So I also participate in some other organizations that have been mentioned here, and I'm proud to call this place home. My view of development, I don't know that anybody's ever said that here, but basically that you have to have a good economy and you also have to have a quality environment, and you need to have both. So if you have both, then you're able to say Titusville is the gateway to space and nature. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Is Dan here? Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Dan Ayton, 417 Indian River Avenue. I've a commercial business owner, commercial real estate owner, multifamily before, as well as my residences here. Lived here for a long time, went to high school here. I participate in North Brevard Economic Development Zone Board as a member since its founding, as well as serve on some of the boards for the hospital and other things as well. So I appreciate the opportunity and the consideration, and look forward to serving however I can.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Council, any comments or before we start nominating? Member Jordan?
Yeah, just want to make it clear. As you all know, the city is growing. It's growing in a way that, you know, I try to tell people there's a lot of people out who believes that we're going to lose our hometown or small town feel because of all the development that's going on. But we need to understand when we talk about the economy that if we don't have the people, if we don't have the heads, we don't have the houses, our taxes are going to go up. As we have seen during the COVID crisis, a $13 sheet of plywood went up to $56. What we never seem to correlate is when we are running a city, if there are expenses that we are paying in our budget for $13 and they go up to $56, then that money has to come from somewhere. And the only way we get money is through taxes. So we certainly, I know this council wants smart growth, but we need to make sure that we have a process in place for those who are coming in to ensure that they are treated fairly and that they will get a fair shake. But also understand that we have underlying beliefs about smart growth. And we talk a lot about low impact development, talk a lot about how we want the city to be in the future. And I just believe that Dan Aiken is the right person to bring a balance to a board that if we all were honest, know that we need more balance on there. And frankly, I said in a meeting before when we put some others on that I felt very concerned that we had too many attorneys on the board. Some of them have left now, I know, but I really believe that we need to balance this by putting Dan Anton on the board. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Vice Mayor.
One of the reasons that I had suggested Kathy for this position is she has served 8 months, so she knows the ropes. Secondly, let me say that we have a couple of personalities on planning and zoning that have strong personalities. And I think having another attorney there will balance that out. I think that will be helpful. Third, she's pretty moderate. So she's not pro-growth, anti-growth. I think she will sit down there and look at it in a very discerning eye, calculate whether this is good for a community or bad for a community. I am concerned, Dan, about you being on the zone and then coming back and having to deal with the documents for those same, potentially the same companies. And I don't think that's a really good idea. The more I think about it, the more I just sort of, because you're in a position then, unlike the others just coming in, where you may or may not have a relationship with those people. And I think there's more transparency if we have somebody who doesn't really have any kind of relationship with these people. And I know you don't necessarily go out to dinner with these people that are coming in and asking for zone dollars or anything like that, but still you have some interaction with them. So therefore, I sort of thought Kathy was more of a neutral, would come from a neutral position. So those were my thoughts.
Okay, thank you. Any other council member have anything they want to add?
Yeah, I of course got to say something about that. We got to be real careful because, and I hear what the vice mayor is saying, but I was on the North Brevard Economic Development Zone, and there's no relationship between the developers or whomever the manufacturers want to come in town. It is all about making sure that it's going to be good for the city, good for North Brevard. So I'm going to have to discount what I just heard as far as potentially there is a problem there, because there isn't a relationship except for the one that when they come before us and they present themselves. So as I said before, and I hope you understand, this is not personal at all, but I really want to make sure that we are balancing what is going on. This is our opportunity to balance what's going on in P&Z. Frankly, I don't like what's going on in P&Z as it relates to making sure everybody gets a fair shake. And I just think, knowing Dan's character, knowing his ability, that he will certainly bring on the character that we need. I think the other candidate that we're talking about is a well-balanced person also. As I said before, it's an attorney, and I'm an engineer, so I don't have anything against attorneys, except I like engineers better. So with that being said, I just think that Dan would be the right person for sure. So,
Member Stokel, did you have your button pushed?
Yeah, no, I was just going to echo that. I think the word that comes to my mind when thinking about this board is balance, like Member Jordan said. And typically I appreciate both the alternates. I know that they are serving in their capacities, and I typically like to move up an alternate. I just think with this particular board, I think we have an agenda item coming up that P&Z tabled an item because they want, I would just like to see them kind of compromise a little bit more, like I feel like we do on council. And I feel like that's not happening at this time. And I'm hopeful that with Dan being on the board, that he can add that unique perspective from being on the zone board and hopefully try to kind of balance that out and have them come to compromises. Then when it comes to us, it doesn't feel like P&Z has been mad at us lately because we sometimes vote against them or what they're recommending to us. And I feel like this will hopefully kind of resolve some of those issues. So that's kind of where my vote is going.
Thank you, Member Stokel. City Attorney, I hear two names. Can we nominate two and then take a vote, or do we need to all say a name or something like that?
First, we'll deal with the regular member position. And each council member can nominate one name, and you could ask each to nominate. Close nominations, and then you'll each vote on one of the nominated names. So,
does every council member have to make a nomination?
No, you just call for nominations.
Okay, that's what we'll do here. And I think I hear them. I think I'm already there, but go ahead. So let me hear the nominations. I see Member Jordan.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we nominate Dan Anton to the P&Z board as a regular member.
We have that nomination. Vice Mayor Nelson?
It would be Kathy Riley.
I told you, I knew this was coming. Okay, so we've got the two nominations, so we have a roll call vote.
Well,
what's a roll call vote? We say the names.
Each member will state the one that they're
That's what it said. By roll call, you still got to call our names
Yes.
before we can give our vote. So roll call vote, state the name.
Vice Mayor Nelson.
Kathy Riley.
Member Stokel.
Dan Aton.
Member Robinson.
May I say, I try to keep my opinion to myself, and I want to try to deal with the facts and look at all of the background of both candidates, or three candidates, four, all of them are well. So with that being said, and not my opinion, I vote for Dan Aton.
Member Jordan.
Dan Aton.
And Mayor Diesel.
Dan Aton. That goes 4-1. Dan Aton is the new member. We need to work on our alternate at this time. No, we don't, because
it's not an agenda.
Okay, we're good. All right, then that's the end of that. I don't say this motion passes or anything. We just got a 4-1 vote. Dan Aton. All right, and let me just say that all of you out there, Chris Childs included, and Stan, for you being here every time. I appreciate you guys willing to, work for the city and do your best. And we have some quality people out there. And I say this about every time here in the last year. We had a time when We didn't have anybody apply. We had a time when if we had one apply, they won. That was it. And that hasn't been that way for quite a while. I think my first 4 years, we didn't have these kind of, can you give us a word? There was just one person. And most of the time, they didn't even show up to get put on the board. So I appreciate that very much. I thank you so much. Now we move to petitions and requests, correct? All right, but before we move, hold on 1 second. I want to, I just have this feeling there's a lot of tooth decay discussion coming. And I just want to say, first of all, thank you for being here. Thank you for caring. Let me give a plug to Dr. Baker. Love Dr. Baker. He's not here. But that being said, the fluoride issue, but boy, did that get going quick, is not an agenda item here, is not a plan that I've heard anything about except from emails, and I got lots of those. And it's not, to my knowledge, and I can't talk to these guys, but it's not a discussion I've had with anybody on staff, except yesterday with my city manager discussion saying, you know, we got a lot of emails on fluoride. So I certainly am, anybody can take their 3 minutes, but there's not any movement, to my knowledge, in the city on taking fluoride out of the water. I mean, and when I pulled in today, I see all these guys getting out in white coats, and Dr. Gullickson, I don't see him now, but he's here somewhere.
He's there.
There he is. I said, this is going to be about tooth decay. So with that said, I wanted to say that before you got started because, again, everybody has the right to speak, but we don't have anything coming our way. Is there anything you want to add, City Manager?
No, sir, it's not an agenda item. We had it as an agenda item several years ago. I think it was just a discussion, wasn't it? It was discussion at a workshop. Fluoride's been in the city's water since 1982, and there's really been no discussion that I'm aware of removing that from our water.
So I would just wanted to preface our movement here with that because, again, everybody can speak, but I'd hate to have 27 people speak on something we're not even looking at.
Right.
So that being said, petitions and requests.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I want to say something.
Oh, I'm sorry, Stan. I'm sorry. I didn't check there. Member Jordan.
Yeah, I just want to reemphasize because I really don't want to be here all night long. And there is no subject agendized for us to talk about this. You're going to tell us about fluoride and how wonderful it is, okay? We got a sheet here, and we got 29 people, and 2 are against, and the rest are for. So if you all, you're going to do what you're going to do, but if you all could quell it and you don't, everybody come up there and say the same thing, we're not hard-headed. We understand, but it's not an agendized item, and it's not going to come up. You know, I don't feel any of the council members going to want to talk about this, but it's up to you.
Now, that being said, I also, again, I don't see it's a bad idea to have 2 or 3 come up and represent the group, but I don't know that we need 22 people to say that, you know, what we, well, maybe 7 wouldn't come up. But anyway, so that being said, I wanted to say that, and I'm not trying to be trivial. It's a very important topic, but it's not one on our radar. It's not something we're looking at. I had not heard about that until, like, probably the rest of you. So that being said, I think we're ready to go, Stan. Oh, boy.
Stan Johnson, 860 Poinsettia. You know who I am. And I sent you an email. It's 22 pages long, and I'm going to read something about it. It has to do with Robert Jordan. It has to do with Robert Jordan. It has to do with Scott Larice, too, our city manager. It has to do with this fraud issue that they're both promoting and supporting. And here's what I wrote. I'll read it from this email. It says, attention. For over 19 months, I continue to offer $1,000 to anyone who will provide me a copy of his $70,000 engineering report by Geosyntec Consultants that reviewed my correspondence from 2012 to 2019 that reports that I, Stan Johnson, professional engineer, am completely wrong in my facts and a worthless, incompetent engineer. Now, I put in parentheses, I put, at council meetings, our city manager and council support and promote this fictitious report. Not only that is, however, in private, our city manager claims that the report does not exist, demonstrating his dishonesty and double-sided, sick nature. It goes for you too, Mr. Jordan. According to city's records manager, through the Freedom of Information Act and city's finance department, the $70,000 payment to Geosyntec consultants and the report, none of them exist. None of it. None of it. It's all a fraud, scam, and hoax. So I didn't plan to meet that, but considering that's the response to your smart aleck remarks to me. Okay, Mr. Jordan?
Stan.
That's right. Well, he deserves it. Okay, let me go on with what I really wanted to say. What I say is that this past Sunday, my wife and I, we went to Sunday school at Park Avenue Baptist Church, and by golly, I raised my hand when I had prayer requests. And I said I would like to have some prayer for me because I'm working with the city. And guess what the response was? The response was, good luck. What they mean is they don't want to waste their time praying about something because the city hall, you can't get anything done there. Good luck is what they told me. I had about 20 people there. 20 people. I think it was well over 20 people. So anyhow, then I went to IRC United Methodist Church, and Coach Diesel was speaking, and he told everyone there. He said, listen. He said that he wants you to be quiet, don't speak up, keep your mouth shut, and for him is that he knows that he is God. That's what you said, Mr. Diesel. So Mr. Diesel, I want you to look at that and look at some things, and because I'd like another minute. I'd like another minute for that.
For the record, wow. And also for the record, what I did say at church is on tape. You can go to IRC Methodist and pull it up, and you won't find me saying I am God.
Be still
and put that in context with the rest of it.
Be still know that I am God.
I don't want to get. Well, I shouldn't say that either. I don't want to get too religious here, but we did talk. I did talk about Psalms 46:10, and in the last sentence it says, "Be still and know that I am God," and that's what I said.
That's right.
So, thus, we can certainly confuse facts, can't we? For the witnesses. Thank you. Please give me 3 minutes here, sir.
Orly Thompson, 3550 Irwin Avenue, Mims, Florida. And I'm passing out the brand new hot off the press Indian River Lagoon National Estuary Program report. And in it, you'll see that there's a whole lot of grants that are featured. There's grant opportunities through the National Estuary Program. They have free grant writers that are available to help cities write grants. Titusville's never submitted a grant, so this should be a good year to apply for one. The grant opens, the window opens in November. Applications are due in January. And then the Tourist Development Council Tourism and Lagoon Grant, they just opened last week. For a $50,000 grant, no match is required. You don't even have to have a match, and you can get $50,000 to do something for the lagoon. The applications are due June 21st, so you have to move pretty fast. Another one of those grant cycles will open around September. Now, you can apply for more money, but then you have to have a match. But these are grants that are specifically designed to do something to help the lagoon, reduce nutrients. You also have an invitation to the Marine Resources Council presentation next week when they show their report card. We got an F. If you want to go down and see why this end of the lagoon got an F, that would be a good thing to go to. Or you can watch it on Zoom because they have 500 spaces on Zoom available. They're taking 60 people in person for a lunch. They'll feed you or a dinner. or you can watch it on Zoom. And I think it would be a good thing to watch on Zoom. Also, Patrick Rose, the CEO of Save the Manatee Club, is going to talk about the manatee situation. And then finally, you have a draft letter in there that some citizens have come up with, asking the governor to declare the Indian River Lagoon in a state of emergency so that we can get additional funding to do infrastructure to stop nutrients from going into the lagoon. And I just put it in there in case the city wants to sign on to the letter. Right now there's mostly environmental organizations, but it would be really good if some of the cities would sign on too, because it could mean extra money for stormwater, for sewer upgrades, and I'm done. And I had 30 seconds left.
Good job. Come on up. Name and address for the record.
Good evening. I even have visual aids, and I can speak fast, so I won't take up too much of your time. But distinguished members, thank you for your service. I have served in that capacity in Michigan, so I appreciate what a thankless job it is. My name is Linda Muhlenberg, and I'm Professor Emeritus of Ferris State University, Department of Nursing and Dental Hygiene, and I'm the CEO of Professional Development Association, Incorporated. I come to you this evening regarding the possible action of removal of fluoride from the drinking water, as one of our county commissioners would like to see it gone in all of Brevard County. My first job out of dental hygiene school was working for the county health department in my hometown in the county in Michigan. I set up mobile dental clinics in schools to administer fluoride treatments to children in non-fluoridated areas. As a young hygienist, I saw firsthand the effects of non-fluoridated water. I was also one of those children growing up in a rural area without fluoride. I had a mouthful of decay and constant dental pain as a child. My parents did not have the means to provide me with dental care. They had not even graduated from high school. Interestingly, I grew up 40 miles outside of Grand Rapids, Michigan, where the original fluoride studies were performed in the 1950s. I have traveled to South Africa as a member of the People to People delegation representing the American Dental Hygiene Association, and once again, I witnessed the ravages of non-fluoridated water. I went back a second time and took graduates of my program, which was a very eye-opening experience for them. I served as the consulting hygienist for the Migrant Health Services in Michigan for 25 years during the summer when I was not teaching. Again, I witnessed children without fluoridated water. Unfortunately, children in America with little access to care in non-fluoridated water look like the children from the third world countries when it comes to their oral health. It is criminal to subject children in this country to such infections. Tooth decay is identified as the #1 chronic disease of children. The dental clinic I managed at the university also saw a large population of rural Amish patients who rarely sought dental care, came to us oozing with dental abscesses and tooth decay. As a member of the Social Justice Committee of the Space Coast League of Women Voters and executive board member of the Central Florida Dental Hygienists Association, I plead with you to keep fluoridating the water for your residents. This is a social justice issue for children with little access to dental care. If you have ever experienced just one toothache, imagine having a mouthful of tooth decay and oozing abscesses as a child. These children swallow massive amounts of pus and bacteria from these infections, leading to other health concerns and higher levels of absenteeism from school. Community water.
Can you finish in a minute?
Yep. Community water fluoridation is recommended.
I got to get a vote to continue.
Yeah, I've got one paragraph.
Oh, look up.
Community water fluoridation is recommended by public health, medical, dental, and scientific organizations, including the World Health Organization. Thousands of studies conducted with scientific rigor have supported its use and safety. Not a single credible, recognized scientific or health organization in the world opposes community water fluoridation. I'm glad to hear that you don't either. Due to its contribution to the large decline in dental cavities in the United States, the CDC named community water fluoridation one of 10 great public health achievements of the 20th century. Please keep Titusville's water fluoridated. Thank you for your valued consideration, and I leave you with a picture of a 3-year-old child from Dr. Lita McGuire, formerly of University of Florida, who started the infant dental program. 3-year-old child, full mouth extractions under general anesthesia. Can you imagine the trauma to these children? So thank you.
Thank you.
That was everything I was going to say right there.
Oh, good.
My name is Jim Antone. I had a practice up here in Titusville in the 80s. I've been in Brevard County all my life, except for my training in school and my military service. I'm a dentist in Rockledge. I had a satellite on Taylor Street, which later became Country Club, and I continued to own that building for several years that housed orthodontist and pediatric dentist. This decision that was made recently in District 1 affects the city of Titusville. It has a very direct effect. I saw the changes. I and Dr. Bird over here and I spoke for the Dental Society when we convinced the County Commission to allow a plebiscite in MIMS on fluoridation. They voted, the people of MIMS voted to put fluoride in the water. This affects you because those children show up at the dentist in Titusville, they show up at the hospital in Titusville, they show up at the health department in Titusville. They miss school, their parents miss work. So I think that decision definitely affects the people of Titusville. You'll see these things happen. Also, one of the Grumman executives spoke when this issue came up at the Melbourne City Council last year, year before last now, and he pointed out that he had 750 high-paying, high-tech jobs open at Grumman in the Melbourne area, and he would have a much more difficult time filling those jobs if they reduced or eliminated fluoride from the water in Melbourne, because people don't want to go places where they're stepping backward in time in public health. And I just want to thank this council, because I was here in 82. I mean, some of you weren't born, I realize. But Titusville made the right decision. And you've continued to make that right decision. We know that. We know we're preaching to the choir here. But it does affect you. You received that CDC letter about, one of the 10 greatest achievements of the century, and CDC certainly supports fluoridation. So does the Brevard County Health Department. Our director's here, and I hope you'll hear from her. So does the Florida Department of Health. We've got people from the Florida Department of Health here that I hope we can just have a minute. So does the American Dental Association, the American Medical Association, American Nurses Association, American Academy of Obstetrics and Gynecology, and we have one of those here. American Academy of Pediatrics. I think that's important because the anti-fluoridationists are going to bring up an article that came out a couple years ago that referenced the urine fluoride of pregnant women and IQs of children. That was debunked heavily by the journal that published it the next month. That journal, JAMA Peds, Journal of American Medical Association Pediatrics, issued a statement the following month saying that they wholeheartedly supported community water fluoridation. So that's important. Also, one of the authors of that article did the same thing. She published a statement saying that she, professor at Indiana University, even though the study was in Canada, wholeheartedly supported community water fluoridation, including for pregnant women. The United States Department of Defense supports fluoridation because it's the #1 reason for non-deployment of soldiers. The American Waterworks Association, the American Public Health Association. This list is 4 pages long. I'll stop here. Thank you.
Good place. Thank you very much. Next up.
I'll try to take 1 minute and not 3.
Don't relax. Name and address for the record.
I'm Maria Stahl. Many of you know me. I live in Rockledge, but I'm the administrator and health officer at the Florida Department of Health in Brevard County. I did send an email to all of you, and I'm not going to go through all of that because you're intelligent and you can read, right? But I do want to mention that we definitely see in parish as well as other hospitals people showing up in need of dental care. Parish Medical Center as well as the Space Coast Health Foundation, we do have agreements with them to bring children and adults really into our health department to service dental needs and dental emergency needs mostly. I am concerned if there was any thought process at all, and I'm 100% glad to hear there's not, that would actually get worse. There is a group, Space Coast Health Foundation has a dental task force that specifically does work on access to dental care. And they do have mobile vans, or they did have a mobile van, and I'm just really concerned with lack of fluoride. I'm really concerned with happening in MIMS, but that's not your decisions here. So, but really concerned of what it may do. So, and lastly, I want to mention similar myself. Nobody knows this, but at age 5, I started kindergarten with black teeth. And for me, I lived in the city of Buffalo, and it was not that I didn't go to a dentist. We did go to a dentist, but there wasn't fluoride in the water, and the dentist says, the baby teeth are going to fall out anyway. Just wait till they fall out. But you know what? I had dental pain. I had stigma. I wouldn't smile with a picture. I was in dancing school and kindergarten and wouldn't open my mouth. I was trying to find a picture of myself at that time, and I couldn't find one with an open mouth because I wanted to show you. But that's all I have to say, and thank you, and I'm really glad to hear that you're not considering removing fluoride, and thank you. If there's anything I can do ever to help any of you, please let me know.
Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for your communications earlier. Anybody else? There we go. We got books.
We got books. Let me go ahead and unload these for you.
Gotta have pictures.
Thank you. Well, if this ever does come up, we'll be prepared.
Yes, sir.
Prepared.
Good evening. My name is Shannon Harp, and I work in the Public Health Dental Program, which is located in the Bureau of Family Health Services and the Division of Community Health Promotion for the Department of Health. I am here to inform you that the Florida Department of Health supports community water fluoridation and has done so since it was called the Board of Health in 1949. Community water fluoridation continues to be one of the most cost-effective measures for preventing dental caries. For most cities, for every $1 invested in community water fluoridation has saved about $38 in treatment. Florida Department of Health records indicate Titusville initiated community water fluoridation in 1982. So that sounds like a lot of savings. The practice of community water fluoridation in Florida started in 1949 with the city of Gainesville. Since then, communities have continued to vote in favor of fluoridation, and now 78.1% of Florida's population water systems has access to fluoridated water. I have brought a copy of the American Dental Association's premier resource on fluoridation, named Fluoridation Facts. This publication answers many frequently asked questions about community water fluoridation and provides some of the latest scientific research on the topic. The manuals assist public policymakers, decision makers, and the general public in making informed decisions about whether to start, stop, or maintain community water fluoridation, because this topic comes up often. I was here in this county just last year with another community which voted to maintain fluoridation in support of the community's oral health. They realized that the overwhelming amount of scientific research and weight of evidence supports community water fluoridation. Along with the fluoridation facts, I also brought you the American Water Works Association's M4. This manual will assist with the planning and operation of fluoridation systems by decision makers, design engineers, and water utility personnel. I hope this is helpful. Thank you for your service. Have a great evening.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Name and address for the record.
Hi, everyone. My name is Angela McKnight. I am a resident of Brevard County in Satellite Beach, Florida, and I am an orthodontist, and I stand before you as the president of the Brevard County Dental Association. So as you can see, when you say the word fluoride, we come running. So everybody can raise their hands in support if you're here with the Brevard County Dental Society. We are here as a resource for you. If you have any questions about fluoridation, if you have any questions about the safety and efficacy of water fluoridation, we are here. We were very disappointed in the MIMS decision last week, and as you can see, we want to do everything in our power to make sure that does not happen anywhere else in our county. So, I thank you that you let us be here tonight and you stay and hopefully are not here till 10 o'clock at night listening about fluoride. But it is extremely important to all of us. And as you can see, we have a ton of support. So thank you for all that you do, and thank you for continuing your community water fluoridation.
Thank you, and thank you for being here. Anyone else feel the fluoride need? There he is. You wear a coat, you got to come to the front.
No, I'll keep this very brief. I'm sorry.
Okay.
My name is Kevin Hockmeister. I live at 1025 Highway A1A, Satellite Beach. I am the dental director at the Brevard County Health Alliance, and before that I worked at the health department. I've worked in public health for 15 years. We treat kids with Medicaid, children with Medicaid, and adults, uninsured patients, all day, every day. That's what I do. When these anti-fluoridationists get in your ear, please keep my patients in mind. I'm here for them. Think of them, please. The county commission did not. I watched that video, never came up once. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Anybody else?
Good evening. My name is Kimberly Dozier Thornton. I'm a pediatrician with Pediatrics in Brevard, and I'm just here representing as a pediatrician and wanting to make sure that we protect our pediatric population, of course, as well as the other community. I actually live in Vieira, but of course I serve patients who are in this area as well. And I'm happy to hear that this isn't an issue as far as continuing the fluoridation of water, but I'm here to just make sure that I can advocate for my patients and that we are continuing to consider their care.
Thank you. We're going to get them all before we're done. She gets 14 seconds. No. Okay.
You're getting fine. My name is Lisa Mosher. I live at 3847 Loggerhead Mims. I actually just moved up there this year. I want to thank you for allowing the public to talk about this because we didn't get a choice up in Mims. And so I still own property in Titusville. My grandson lives here. So I just want to say thank you for listening to all these folks because we didn't get it. So I appreciate it. Is that 14 seconds?
Well, you're saying thank you. You can go longer.
Well, now do we want to go on the other stuff? No.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I think there was somebody else over there. Yeah, there you go. Why are the thank yous so short?
Hey there, I'm John Andrews, and I'm a Titusville resident, 777 Florencia Circle, and I'm a dentist here in town. My father was a dentist in town starting in 1959, August of 59. My dad passed away last year, but we practiced together. I got here in 90 after graduating Titusville High School,
right.
And I just want y'all to know that, the guys that came before us worked hard on teeth, trying to keep people to keep their teeth so that they could die with their teeth. It's important to this community. We just want to get in front of this because we feel like we got bamboozled. So we just want to get up here and just tell you guys, if this happens, please call Dr. Baker. Great guy. Please call Dr. Bellickson. Just talk to us and let us know so that we can be there to show our support for something that this community needs, because there's a lot of people that don't have access to care. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you so much. Anyone else? Well, with that, I'm only looking over here. I didn't know
Hi, my name is Dr. Yoshita Patel. I own Viera Pediatric Dentistry, 5600 Parada Drive in Viera. This is an extremely important topic, and I thank you because many of us don't know how civics works. We know how science works. And I think that as individuals and citizens of this community, we felt extremely upset about how things were managed. And I applaud you for doing things the right way, in a way that representation is allowed, and that we as providers are able to come and represent our community, our patients, and our own family's well-being in this type of atmosphere that's welcoming. I think that's an extremely part of the democracy that we are, it's an important part of the democracy that we are a part of and we choose to be a part of. And, sorry, I always get emotional about this because we see this stuff all day long. We see cavities, children calling in pain. They're out of school for months because they can't get care. I'm doing a whole free day of care next week for children who can't get care anywhere in this county because their parents can't drive them. They don't have Motrin at home. They don't have Tylenol at home. How are they supposed to get the care I can provide if they can't even get to me? The way that people are reached is water. It's the simplest thing. It's the cheapest thing. And so I urge you to not only think about it for the future of Titusville, but the future of our county. Reach out to the other leadership because they aren't like you. They didn't do what was appropriate or what was right. So please talk to them and on our behalf, sign our petition that we've started. It's on change.org/MIMS fluoride to encourage your colleagues to bring this up in the appropriate way so that we can do our jobs the way that they're meant to be done in a preventive way, rather than trying to catch all the emergencies, catch the pain, find them in the ER, swollen faces, inability to breathe. I mean, these are children. So please keep that in mind and talk to your colleagues about what they've done to the potential future of their own population. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to scan the room this time, make sure. I think nobody else, right? Okay, with that being said, first of all, thank you for your commitment, your passion, your compassion. And as I heard it right, some of you drove a distance to be here. South Brevard anyway, that's for sure. And certainly, whoever stands on any side of this has to see that there's a compassion and a care out here that is sincere. And I appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate you guys, and I say Dr. Baker and we kid around and all that, but, I'm one of those guys old enough to remember the days in the dental chair. You just had to tough it out. And, thank God for people like you and people like Dr. Baker and Dr. Gullickson. My sons go to him and they're scared of the dentist more than I am, so he knows how that goes. But I appreciate you guys and I thank you for being here. And with that, because I think some of you aren't going to be interested in the rest of it, take a 5-minute recess. Thank you. Yeah. I thought so. Meeting back to order, please. Thank you very much. In the midst of the fluoride discussion, I left petitions and requests, and there was somebody still out there that needed to speak. So my apologies, sir, and if you would come up and give me your name and address for the record. And again, I should have taken one more look.
Thank you. Okay. Good evening. My name is Tom Perez. I live at 3025 South Washington Avenue here in Titusville. And I'm here on behalf of KBB, Keep Brevard Beautiful. Its CEO, Brian Bobbitt, had an accident almost 2 weeks ago, and it was serious enough that he's still recuperating, okay, so he could not be here. 1 year or more ago, we were having discussions of starting a compost program with a facility here in Titusville, okay? We were brainstorming this. Earlier this year, Brian spoke at the Rotary Club, Titusville Rotary Club, and the Sunshine Rotary Club. And we certainly thought enough of the program that we applied for a grant, okay? And it was granted for this project. Regrettably, because of delays, the award expired and the grant has gone away, at least for this year. I'm told that a similar proposal was made in Melbourne, and they took all of 20 minutes to decide to go ahead with that opportunity that's presented to them, and they will be, KBB will be doing something there. So on behalf of KBB, I would like to request time on the council's maybe next meeting agenda to discuss this issue, to see how we can make this happen in Titusville. We think it's important. Well, I'll stop there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. City manager, is there anything you want to guide us with there?
Kevin, if I could.
Kevin, would you come up?
We have met with Mr. Bobbitt, and we did have a way that we thought was going to work where the airport authority was going to try to find space to put a facility out there. There are state regulations that have to be met, which Kevin can talk about. That apparently fell through.
That's what I had understood. Something about the regulations. Now, I may be wrong, but I was talking to Brian. He had just had the accident, actually. And he said there were some regulations out at the airport that would not allow it to go out there.
Yeah. And Kevin can summarize our meeting, and we did make sure Mr. Bobbitt knew that there was state regulations. And
yeah, we just recommended reaching out to DEP to ask them what they're going to regulate. Normally composting is regulated under DEP like a landfill, so you have to have a solid waste permit with it. So there's a lot of property restrictions that go in effect with that. So we researched on a bigger scale. We looked at it one time. The city doesn't do disposal, so we were basically passing on what the county started composting. So in our meeting, we had suggested the airport. We also suggested the Brevard County Transfer Station, which I understand they also declined. I don't know if KBB's met with Yuri, the solid waste director for the county, who runs all the disposal facilities of the county. But we were the ones that actually suggested the airport, because the airport has an abundance of land in both airports. But obviously they are leasing under a board, not us.
In talking to Brian, he had indicated that Yuri said no for this current year. So what he was looking for was to do a pilot program, and then Yuri was talking to him about he would be able to have some county property in about 2 years. They were going to do some shifting among their facilities.
Yeah, and I think that what we had suggested is to reach out to DEP and find their regulatory requirements before we start trying to accommodate a location for him.
Now that I did not ask him. I did not ask him. But maybe Mr. Perez could come back and share the information with us. Talking to Mr. Bobbitt, he indicated that he would need maybe 2 acres, an acre, for approximately 2 years.
Yeah, and I don't think it's the land itself. I think it's, as Kevin said, they regulate composting as the same way they do a landfill.
Okay.
So there's, in certain cases, so there needs to be that figured out before we start
Yeah.
looking for possible locations.
Because even my recollection of the proposal is they're going to be containerized inside of a shipping container of sorts.
Right.
But I don't know that they won't call that still a Class 2 landfill, which has some insurance requirements to go with it because a normal landfill has to be closed to environmental impacts. So when we talk about using city property, we don't want to do something that's going to liable us into a Class 2 landfill, essentially. The city years ago operated one, but we don't any longer. We don't have disposal facilities. That's why we thought the county's a good fit because the county's transfer stations are already classified, already permitted under these regulations. And I understand if Yuri's a couple of years out, it's probably because his transfer station's moving to another property. So he's opening up land at his old transfer station. I would guess. I'm not going to speak on behalf of Yuri, but
maybe.
for us entering into, and the other, if we look at a lot of our properties that size, they're going to be in neighborhoods. So I know Peggy can talk about development side, but there may be some concerns about putting composting inside. I know like the Sisson Road property is one that came up where we have an old use-by nursery where their house is backing up to it and it fronts onto a major roadway. So those have to be thought about as well if we're
Actually, in the industrial areas, at least to me, it would seem like a good fit.
And that's why we suggest the airport, who has the bulk of the industrial property now.
So, does Brian know how long he's going to be out?
Yeah, I know.
I think it would be interesting to see the proposal. If everybody's in agreement.
I feel like, let me digress.
Okay.
When he first started and come back before council, I think what it needs to do is run through staff. It sounds like you've already talked to Brian. You've already looked for locations. They haven't worked out. I think there still needs to be some, if we're going to continue to move forward. This really shouldn't come to council until staff has come with something they can propose to us. I don't think that we make the proposal here. I would like to hear what they have to say. And I'll leave it at that. Say again?
Agreed.
Yeah, so because you said, get on the agenda at the next meeting, I don't think we need to have on the agenda unless there's been discussion with staff and KBB, come together and say, this is what we'd like to do, and then the council says okay or no.
Yeah, and what we suggested to KBB is that they're going to have to go to the state. It's not the city going to the state.
Well, see, that adds another thing to it, that perhaps it won't even be our decision.
Well, I'm sort of curious, and obviously I don't think there's anybody here that can answer this. When I talked to Brian, he indicated that it was West Melbourne that approved that proposal, and they had it done within 2 weeks. So,
yeah, and I think he did mention that they were actually taking the compost to a location in East Orlando, maybe.
Ooh.
That doesn't make sense.
I think it was also a pilot program.
Well, he did say it was a pilot program, but I'm wondering if you had to go through DEP to get through all that worked out, then how could they do it that fast?
Yeah, I don't believe that they
We
got
can
it.
probably reach out to West Melbourne and get the record of what was proposed, because obviously they took action on it, so we can see a proposal and review it. But obviously we would have a unique situation if they're asking to use city property. Then I think they're going to need to show us what they're going to do. We have to vet it through all of our staffing, through development, public works, probably water resources, and legal to even see about a use agreement of a city property for this purpose. From a staff level, we certainly can, but we can reach out to West Melbourne and see what it is. It could be that they're taking it and using a facility already built somewhere else for composting that's permitted. I'm speculating at this point.
Yeah,
How they're moving things around, because I can't.
I would be too. I would appreciate it if you do that and just sort of let us know what you find out.
That would be the next step.
Yeah.
Let me move on to Member Jordan.
I'm so patient over here.
You are.
I'm a very patient person. To me, we may be looking at this the wrong way. When you're talking about composting, to me, it should start at home. And if anything, let's do a pilot, KBV do a pilot with the citizens or some small group and just have containers in their backyard or something. But to have a citywide thing, the only thing I could think of is a process of you got a trash can, you got to pick out the stuff that is supposed to go into the compost bin. And I mean, that's going to be just nasty, to be honest with you. And you're asking for a program to start here, and who's going to pay for that program? You're talking about city property. You're talking about city resources, and I don't know what the motive is. What's the rationale for wanting to do something like this? What are we going to be saving? What is the benefit to the citizen to do this? Just simple questions that.
Yeah, when we met with Mr. Bobbitt, his proposal, at least in theory, was $20 for a residential house to participate in it. Our trash solid waste pickup right now for residential is $13. So he was proposing $20 additional dollars to participate in the program.
Okay. More taxes on the employees.
No, I believe it would be to KBB. That wouldn't be the city collecting that money. It would be in order to participate in the program.
Subscription service, not a solid waste provided service. So
I'm not interested.
Member Stokel.
Yeah, I think I would be interested in seeing more information. I just feel like I don't have enough information. Part of me is wondering if, I don't know if you guys have gone to the county yet. I feel like maybe going directly to the county and starting that way rather than, I don't know about piecing different cities throughout the county and then trying to see kind of what works rather than going to the county, seeing what can work there, and then having like the cities partner with the county. I feel like might be more plausible from my viewpoint. I would just need some more information. I feel like I don't have enough yet, but I'd be interested.
Very good. Member Jordan, you still have it?
Oh, let me.
Okay. Okay, with that, Kevin, I would think what we're looking for is some kind of feedback from you via report here, or is there another way that he can just let us know?
Sure, we'll reach out to West Melbourne and find out what their process is. But again, as Member Stokel said, KBB's got to do some of the things with the state in order to let us know what's going on.
Okay, very good, and thank you. We move on to consent agenda.
Yes, sir. Clerk, are there any cards for consent?
We have one individual that signed up for 10 items.
Okay. Council, any council members, would you like to pull any of the consent agenda items?
Don't do it. That gives you more time.
I don't want them pulled off the agenda, but I do have questions.
Yes, sir. That was my next question. Is any council members have any questions on any of the agenda items?
Yes.
Would you like to ask that question?
Yes,
now
on seeing it, and all of them are concerned is that being in somewhat experienced with doing contracting, and sometimes when you go off a bid, you go to the lowest bid, and I just wanted to make sure that, and then you go through the discovery process, which make the lowest bid after you finish the project, the highest bid of them all. And to make sure that we're careful when we go out and put things out for bid, that we take all of the unseen things that can be discovered in the process of putting that proposal together.
Absolutely, and that is what we're seeing right now is what Member Jordan suggested earlier in the meeting. The price of supplies, the price of goods, and the price of labor, if you can find it, is really skyrocketed, would be the word I would use. And we're starting to see the effects of that now with some of our existing contracts, where they're coming back and saying that sheet of plywood that was $13 when I bid the contract's now $55.
Yeah. Bigger trees.
Bigger trees. Bigger trees.
Sawdust. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, we're good. Go ahead.
And Mayor and Council, with your permission, I'd like to read the titles for the record.
Yes.
Consent agenda item 8A, award the contract to slip line various gravity sewer mains. Consent agenda item 8B, approve a temporary adjustment to the Housing Rehabilitation Program temporary cost adjustment from $60,000 to $70,000 per eligible household. Consent agenda item 8C, approve change order number 1 to contract 21B017 to Grigori Construction Incorporated. Consent agenda item 8D, approve the award of contract to EST Companies of Tempe, Arizona for wash rack inspection, maintenance, and repair services. Consent agenda item 8E, approve the modification to change the increased estimate quantity on contract SV 20B014 with KAG Specialty Products Group for line slurry removal services. Consent agenda item 8F, approve the change of the use of the Brevard County Public Entity Purchasing Cooperative Agreement for wastewater and water production chemical purchases. Consent agenda item 8G, approve the award of the emergency work order for PLC replacement and engineering programming services for the Blue Heron Water Reclamation Facility. Consent agenda item 8H, approve resolution number 18/2021 to approve the memorandum of understanding and the settlement agreement of the opioid litigation. Consent agenda item 8I, approve the award of engineering services for collector sidewalk infill. And consent agenda item 8J, approve the Brevard County Fire First Responder Vaccination Incentive Program member of understanding for the municipal fire departments with existing auto aid agreements.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Does staff have anything to add? No staff members, council, any questions or comments? Call the cards, please.
One person, Stan Johnston.
Thank you. Okay.
Good evening. Stan Johnston, 860 Poinsett Avenue. I'm speaking here as a registered professional engineer. What I've sent you is a 22-page email, and it also talks about these 10 items. Now, these 10 items, I want to go real quickly with you so that here's what I've got. It's going to be quick. Ready? 8A, I'm opposed. 8B, C, and D, approve. 8E, F, and G, no, 8B, C, and D, I approve. 8E, F, and G, opposed. Now, 8F, I'm asking for tabling. 8H, neutral. 8I, opposed. And 8J is approved. So that's in summary. Now, I'm going to ask for at least another 7 minutes because this is 10 items, and normally you get about a half an hour for if I were to speak on each one individually, and I'm only given 10 minutes, and I think this is really almost like unconstitutional because what you did recently is that the city of Titusville had on the consent agenda, they had a $10 million pork barrel project that was on the consent agenda that never went to new business, never went to old business. You think you know what I'm talking about? The improvements for the wastewater plant for the recycled water. $10 million on the consent agenda. Can you believe that? Can anyone believe that? So what I think is what you're doing right now, is what Mr. Broom wrote up, is this 10-minute thing, limitation. I think it's unconstitutional. And what you did is just railroaded. You railroaded this $10 million pork barrel project, which I think is absolute nonsense. So anyhow, I'm going to be asking for at least 7 minutes, and understand that Mr. Diesel said, be still, be quiet, and know that I am God, and that was supposed to be
and stay on topic.
All right, buddy. Okay, so let's go to what I have written. Oh, may I, for 8A, E, F, and G, right here. Get your 22-page long. Let me read from it. It says, I oppose 8A, E, F, and 8G for several reasons. One reason is that these items are under the direction of Water Resources, Sean Stauffer, P.E., who I know to be dishonest and incompetent on many occasions. For example, and by the way, I've reported that to Human Resources, and Mr. Scott Larice, he just threw them away. For example, his decision to not turn off the fountains that resulted in applying then resulting in spraying the public with sewage over a 2-month period, as mentioned above, is a really bad thing to do. 2 months spraying the public with sewage, and that was over a 2-month period. It was never reported in the paper, and I explained it in this. And that's my expertise. That's his expertise. We are licensed by the state as professional engineers to protect the health, safety, and welfare. And so I went ahead and I demanded that the city go ahead and shut them off. No, they left them on for over 2 months, spraying the public with sewage and sewage aerosol. That's horrible. That's incompetence on Mr. Stauffer's part and Mr. Larice's part. He's not here now. But let's go to the next one. Number 1.2. It says, in like manner, City Manager Scott Larice is dishonest and incompetent for the same reasons that I just said in number 1. I already said that. 1.3. For item 8E, it is noteworthy that the city has been dumping lime slurry into the wetlands located west of Old Whispering Hills School. So here we have, I want you to look at item 8E. The city's been dumping lime slurry into wetlands. So why are we paying somebody now to haul it away? Why don't we just continue just dumping it in the wetlands? I think that's a good question to ask. Why we've been dumping it in the wetlands now? Now we're going to do what? We pay somebody millions of dollars to take care of it? So that's a good question someone should answer. And number 1.4, its other reasons include misuse of money to not hire a professional engineer to review facts that I presented. And I suggest the tabling of item 8F for that particular reason. Number 2, I wrote here, I request tabling or opposition to 8I for several reasons. That has to do with the sidewalk infill, Mr. Cook. Because the reasons, including omissions of the locations of where these sidewalks are proposed. It's not mentioned in the agenda packet. These proposed locations should be published for the public and the public notification. For example, on my street, we don't want them. People don't want those. It's considered a collector road, Poinsettia Avenue. I don't think very few people are going to want sidewalks on that street. But I think the city's going to try to force it. I don't know if it's in this one or not. But for example, many people on Poinsettia Avenue, that's my street, do not want sidewalk in their front yard. Also, most sidewalks do not need survey. Now, here's another one. As a professional engineer, what I'd do is I'd go out, and when city or county wanted to do a sidewalk job, I was called out there. I just do it. I'll walk through it and stake it out. I don't need a survey. I don't need all this topographical survey. I just go out and stake it out. So that's what you could do. But the thing is what you can do is you can do plans and topographical survey. It'll cost more than doing the sidewalk. It will cost more than doing the sidewalk. You just go out and walk it out. You can do it. In fact, you'll probably do it better, even a better job if you walk it and just stake it out yourself instead of somebody doing a topographical survey and all that stuff. It's nonsense. The road's already there. You know where the sidewalk's supposed to be. You should know where the property lines are. And you can have a surveyor and just stake the thing out. I've written that up. So that's a comment I have on that. So, but getting back to what some things happened is with the city is that some people say I've accused some people of being liars. I've accused people of being liars. I've never done that. I've never accused anybody here of being a liar or a cheat or a shyster. Never done that. In my dictionary says is when you accuse somebody, you call it or allege that somebody did something. You're saying that they did it without proof. I've got proof. I've never accused anybody when I call them a liar. I'm calling them a liar because they are a liar. They've been lying. And by golly, and I'll tell you what, in that book that I just gave you as a present, it says if you look at it, it says don't judge people. Don't judge people. That book says don't judge people. Many places it says it. But I'll tell you what, and there's a place, if you look in Matthew 7:1-2, it says, judge not lest ye be judged. And that by which you measure other people, they will measure you. That's what I'm doing. Judge me. So when I call somebody like Mr. Luis a shyster and a hustler, I know it because I'm not only that, I'm a witness and I'm a victim.
Stop clock. Get back to one of these.
Okay.
These. Pick one.
Okay. All right. What this is. Okay. Thank you. So anyhow, on this 8A, E, F, and G is that Mr. Luis and I oppose it. I don't want, for example, Mr. Stauffer involved in this poison, this hydrofluorosilic, something like silic acid, which is the most dangerous acid considered to mankind. Most dangerous acid. It will eat through glass. And he's the one who's in charge of that, overseeing that. I'm not against the buying, but I'm against Mr. Stauffer, who allowed sewage being sprayed on people to be in charge of something that is the most dangerous acid known to man. Google it and you'll find it says the same thing. He shouldn't be in charge of that. He's shown that he can't even make a decision to turn the fountains off of spraying sewage on people. How can we possibly trust him with something like that? I can't do it. I can't trust him spending the city's money the way he's spending it. He needs to be gone. And he's supported by Mr. Luis repeatedly. When I make complaints against Mr. Stauffer, the human resources, he erases them. He throws them in the trash. And that's the same thing with other people. When I make complaints, by golly, Mr. Luis, he throws them in the wastebasket. Okay, I'm asking for 7 more minutes.
No. First of all, in all fairness, you're asking for 7 more minutes, but there was a bunch of your minutes that I couldn't get you to talk about the topic. You were talking about other people. So let me just ask you this, and I probably shouldn't, but I'm going to anyway.
Yes, sir.
You're throwing out there the judge not, lest ye be judged, etc., right?
Yes, sir.
Has any of us called you a name?
Well, it's been worse than that.
No. I'll just leave it at that. I just asked a question. We don't really have an answer. I haven't heard anybody call you a name. And then sometimes, do you call people names? Shyster?
I've called them that because that's what they are.
Well, that's your opinion.
No, it's not an opinion. I'm saying it's facts. I've got proof.
Okay.
Take me to court. That's what I want. I want them to.
Well, you spend a lot of time talking about that.
Yeah.
And then when you want more time, it's like you had 10 minutes to talk about these things, and you might have spent 3 talking about these topics like I asked you. I think sometimes you have information. Hey, let me hear what he's got to say.
I was talking about that
So with that,
hydrofluorosilic acid.
I got you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. God bless you. Well, how about 7 more minutes?
No,
I should shut up and know that you're God.
All right.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you very much. Whew. Hold on. I'm going to get my head back here in a second. All right. Are there any more comments or cards on the consent agenda? Council, any comments on the consent agenda? Do I have a motion for the consent agenda?
Mr. Mayor.
Member Jordan.
Thank you. I move that we approve consent agenda items A through J.
I have a motion to approve the consent agenda. I believe I have a second. Vice Mayor was up there, so I will give that to the Vice Mayor. We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Roll call vote.
Member Stokel?
Yes.
Member Robinson?
Yes.
Member Jordan?
Yes.
Mayor Diesel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nelson?
Yes.
Consent agenda passes unanimously. City Manager.
On to item 9A, which is the draft vision basic comprehensive plan transmittal of the comprehensive plan amendment application 1-2021. The Planning and Zoning Commission considered this item during their meeting on May 19th at 2021 and tabled until the tree ordinance and LID ordinances are approved. The vote was 7-0. As a result of that, staff is withdrawing this item until Planning and Zoning Commission can make a recommendation.
So 9A is withdrawn. There is no action. Member Jordan.
I'm just trying to understand, and City Attorney, I'm going to put you on the spot with this one, because the assumption that Planning and Zoning is making is that we're going to approve a future ordinance, right? That the, where am I? I lost my space.
9A.
Thank you.
9A.
I appreciate it. So they want the approval of the tree ordinance and the LID ordinance. And there's nothing that says that we're going to approve those ordinances. So how can we not get a recommendation? They're basically saying if we don't get those approved, then they're not going to send us a recommendation. Am I reading that wrong? That's what I read. It say tabled until the tree ordinance and LID ordinance are approved. So we decide not to approve it,
Yeah.
then we're not going to get a recommendation. Is that what we're reading?
I would not want to speak for planning and zoning. I wasn't at their meeting. I just have the same notes you have. But to answer your question, this is a transmittal for a comprehensive plan change,
Right.
which will go to the state. We'll receive comments back. Then when it comes back, it will go back to planning and zoning and you to adopt the changes or not to adopt the changes or to make further changes.
In my mind, Council, it just makes sense for us to go ahead and submit the document because we're going to have another chance at it, and we'll have comments from the state that the planning and zoning can look at. I don't think that it should have been tabled because of two ordinances that may or may not be approved.
But I would recommend that you do get a recommendation from your land planning agency before it is transmitted. If you would like them to provide that recommendation, then I would send them that message, but I would not transmit until you do get a recommendation from your
Okay,
land
that sounds wise to me. So my suggestion is that we do send it back to them and have them send us a recommendation without feeling that they have to table this until the tree ordinance and LID ordinance is approved, because that may not happen.
Vice Mayor.
I agree with Mr. Jordan, but I would say let's give them a cutoff time, whatever it is, a month, where we want whatever they're going to do back to us on that date.
I would say, and I agree with both here, I would say that not doing anything and having to withdraw it kind of puts us in a rut. And I get, too, that the PNZ has communicated that they're concerned about not having too many things on their plate right now. But some of these not moving, and, of course, we only have the one meeting coming up in June. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of traffic jam and nothing's moving. So I'm not saying blaming anybody for that. I'm simply saying that we really need to get a few things moving because, Lord have mercy, if nothing else, that July meeting is going to go for a week. So that being said, Member Stokel.
Yep, that's my concern. Looking at this, and I know we've done transmittals in the past, I think it's too late now. Like, they've already tabled this, so I'm kind of with Member Nelson that we should give them a time frame to have it back. But I would also like to communicate back to them that we don't really want to hold things up if they're not needed. And I feel like waiting for the tree ordinance and the LID ordinance would be holding it up. I feel like we can go ahead and send it to the state, get their recommendations, and then look at it at that point. And if P&Z has more additional comments or they agree with the state, they don't agree with the state, like let's hash that out then. Right now, all I see is us prolonging things that preventing us from kind of moving forward at this point. So I appreciate P&Z. I honestly like how they go through everything so thoroughly. It's just these kind of things get me concerned where I'm like, okay, I see both sides and I wouldn't want to continue moving along the process in an efficient manner.
Yeah, and I would add to that, too. I do want to say that not everybody will hear this part, though. They never seem to. But that being said, I think that the PNZ is very thorough as well. And again, we have several lawyers on there, and I don't mean that in a negative way at all. Lawyers generally are
we're down one.
Are detailed.
We're down one, Dan.
So we may be, but we still have lawyers there. And that's good, and we have a lawyer here. And the point I'm making is I think that they are very detailed. And sometimes that detail to do it, in their mind the right way, we get backed up a little bit. And I wouldn't want them to not do it the right way. And as I said before, the first thing I look at when we have something, well, what'd they vote? That's the first thing I look at. So when anybody there might say, well, don't worry about the council, they're not going to listen to us anyway, I pretty much don't get that because, as I said many times, when we had our nominations even recently, the first thing I look at is what's their vote. And if there's one or two, we then say, why didn't those two vote for it? I don't know how much more credence and credibility we can give to the PNZ because I do pay attention to what they're doing. And I'll just leave it at that. Bottom line is we've got to get things rolling somehow, some way. And that being said, City Manager. Oh, I'm sorry. Member Stokel, you still up?
Yeah, just to clarify, so moving forward, how many P&Z meetings do we have coming up? We have the one, I think, on June 2nd. Do they have another one in June or no?
They have a second one in June 16th, which is what they tabled the tree ordinance to.
Okay.
And they asked that the tree ordinance be the only agenda item on the 16th.
Okay, so I guess with that, my recommendation would be to have an answer back by June 2nd, or if they want to take until the 16th, they can, but definitely by the 16th. So if they want to just do the tree ordinance on the 16th to try to have it done at the June 2nd meeting, but if not, that gives them at least 2 meetings to kind of come back with something.
Thank you. Member Robin, okay, that's what's going on here. Member Robin, just for the record.
Yes, I agree with Member Stokel. We got to the 16th, let them hack it over and come, but if it's not done by the 16th, it's gone. That's my thoughts on it because we don't know what they're going to come back with, and it may be important in the decision-making process. And at least that as we go forward with their input, they can come back and say, I told you so.
Now, just as a reminder, Council, you have one meeting in June, and it is June 8th.
So basically, we would have to wait till the July meeting to hear what they've said.
Okay. Okay. Member Jordan.
I still need clarification. I guess, Peggy, your staff was there. Were they looking for the LID and the tree ordinance to be approved by City Council before they want to? I'm just asking. I'm just trying to understand clarification here.
I only know what the motion said, but I can tell you that in addition to talking about the LID and the tree ordinance, there were also some issues related to Sandpoint Park, Indian River Lagoon, area of critical concern, wetlands. And so the motion was that the draft comp plan put on the back burner until the tree ordinance and LID ordinance is approved.
That's back burner. That sounds like it could be in Never Never Land. And if it's approved, then I assume, we're the one that approve things. I'm probably going to say something controversial because I just feel like it right now. There's nothing that says that this council is going to approve our LID or tree ordinance. We will know approval when we come and discuss the thing. So for us to prolong this, it just makes no sense to me. And what you just said, put it on the back burner, that tells me they don't want to discuss it. So I got a concern with that for sure. So I think Jolene, I'm trying to get your name. I wanted to say your, Vice Mayor. Thank you so much. Yeah, Vice Mayor Nelson. I think she is correct. We need to give them a deadline and say, bring us back something because we need to go ahead and deliver this thing. That's my feelings too. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, and with that, bottom line is we're withdrawing this for tonight.
That's correct.
No action.
And we have your guidance. We'll pass that back to P&Z.
Exactly. I appreciate that. Yes, sir. Move to 9B.
9B is Ordinance 12-2021 relating to temporary offices and industrial zoning, and the City Attorney will read the ordinance.
Ordinance number 12-2021, an ordinance of the City of Titusville, Florida, amending Chapter 28 zoning of the land development regulations to allow temporary offices as an accessory use in industrial zoning classifications and specifying standards, specifically amending Section 28-342 accessory use table and creating Section 28-374 temporary offices, providing for severability, repeal of conflicting ordinances, for an effective date, and for incorporation into the code.
This is the first reading and first of two required public hearings. The second public hearing is scheduled for June 8th, 2021, beginning at 6:30. The Planning and Zoning Commission will consider this ordinance at their meeting on June 2nd, 2021. Ms. Busaka is available to answer any questions you may have on this first reading.
Any comments there, Ms. Busaka?
I would be happy to go over the highlights of the ordinance if you want to hear it, and I believe we may even have a speaker.
I'd like to hear the highlights of the ordinance.
What the staff has developed is the ability for to put in temporary offices as a use that for which there are specific standards that have been proposed. Based on the information that the council provided us at their last meeting, we are proposing a minimum lot size placement of 5 acres. Now that is not a scientific number. It was, what we did is we looked at the size of surrounding properties, and we saw that there were several properties in the PID that were 5 acres. We feel like 1 acre is very small, and most people very much probably don't have extra room on a 1 acre lot. On the other hand, there aren't many 50-acre lots. So that is an item that council will probably hear from the planning and zoning. They're going to be hearing this item on June 2nd. And they may give you some ideas, but that's the staff's suggestion at this moment. We also have proposed that no more than 2 temporary office units are permitted per property at any one time for a total amount of 6 months in any calendar year, unless otherwise authorized by the City Council. We have stated that a Class 1 site plan is required, and that's the site plan that the type of site plan we would use for a restriping of a parking lot. It's not a full-blown site plan and doesn't necessarily require an engineer, although if there are issues that come up about stormwater, that may be required. We also require that the temporary office shall not be placed in any right-of-way or easement and create a site obstruction so that it's a safety issue. We state that it shall not be used as a dwelling for the storage of live animals, hazardous or flammable materials. It's considered to be an office. We have some information about identification of the structure. So if the fire department has to go to it, they can say, go to building 4, and they'll know where they're going. We talk about maintenance of the temporary structure, and that the temporary office structure should not be located on required parking spaces or stormwater facilities. The statement is made that there's no removal of trees for temporary structure, and at the same time, there's no required landscaping around the temporary structure. We can't waive the provisions of the Florida Building Code, the ADA, the Fire Prevention Code, and the National Fire Protection Association standards, and that's clearly stated. We also state that the setbacks for the temporary offices will be governed by the accessory building and structure in the current code. We talk about the fact that at the end of the period for which the temporary office was permitted, the temporary structure shall be removed. And finally, there's a violation standard. I would also note that if there's an instance where someone, and perhaps it's the group that brought this issue forward, wants to do these temporary offices on a long-term basis, such as more than 1 year. At that point, the staff has suggested that perhaps this code could be amended to say that you could put a building pad out on the facility. That building pad then would go through the stormwater facilities and the parking and all of those, and then the temporary structures could be put on that pad off and on, and then they wouldn't have to go through this site plan repeatedly. But that may be something that you would want to consider down the road, because you may want to even think about that. There was some discussions about making it a conditional use permit, and that could be brought after this immediate ordinance has been adopted. So that may be step 2 in a long-range plan.
Thank you, Ms. Busacca. Well said. Right to the point. Member Jordan.
Yeah, of course, I'm interested. I really appreciate you getting this together as quickly as possible. It is well done. But you said some things that, of course, caught my ear. And first one was this 5 acres. I don't agree with the 5 acres at all, because I'm thinking about my property, and I've got a lot of vacant space. I've got a building, but I got a lot of vacant space there. And when you say a minimum of 5 acres, you know, I got at least an acre on my property that is nothing there. I could put something like this on. So I certainly would hope that we would change that. I understand the rationale you're using. You say 1 acre, there may not be any space, but in fact, there could be a lot of space on a 1 acre lot because you have a small building on there. So I think I would, even though this is arbitrary, I would say 1 acre at the most, at the minimum. The 6 months thing, because we know what's going on here, I don't want to touch that. I think we can probably just modify that afterwards. But I think I heard you say there is an option if it has to be longer. We got something in place, but I thought you said it had to come back to council, and I really don't want it to come back to council.
Well, and that is, all you have to do is tell us what to do on that.
Yeah.
And I apologize, I did neglect to say that right now this is written as only planned industrial. There are maps on your agenda to show where those items could be. In addition to that, there are also maps to show you what the M1, M2, and M3 zoning districts are if you want to either expand or contract that.
Okay.
And it's advertised in such a way that as long as it's in the industrial area, we can pick and choose what those zonings are.
Yeah, and that's really the focus right now is the industrial area, the PID area for sure. I was wondering, and I think I understand, you're saying the temporary building cannot be an existing parking area, correct?
Well, that's what the staff's recommendation is. Currently, under the code, we do not allow people to park on grass. That's overflow parking is, I know there are groups that do it on Sundays or whatever, but that is not part of the code. So in the event that you think that that's acceptable, there are some issues. Sometimes we get, greases and oils and things that get into the groundwater because of that. So that's the reason the staff has not recommended it. But the issue becomes that the existing development would have to be able to show us that they have too much parking. And while that's relatively common in commercial, it's not as common in industrial. And so now we're into a full-blown site plan. The other issue is I've seen the plan that AstroTech has provided. We've started a preliminary review of that. And I don't know whether the fire department's going to say that they can put those structures in that area. What they've done is they've put it in a drive path of a parking lot. And I don't know if the fire trucks can get through where they need to go. So that's the kind of issues that we have to address when we talk about drive paths. Because sometimes fire trucks have to make those turning radiuses to get where they're going. But, so at this point, I just don't know.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'm good. I think I'd like to hear from the audience.
Yeah, and we will. Member Robinson.
Yes. Yes, Peggy. Everything that you read off is in our package, but I did not see that last statement that you made about if it extends over a year. Did I miss that?
If you look on page 383,
okay,
C1B, no more than 2 temporary office units are permitted per property at any given time. The total amount of time temporary office units shall be placed on a property is 6 months in any calendar year unless otherwise authorized by City Council.
Okay. So that the 1 year wasn't there, but you said any more than 6 months.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that was my concern. I know that I had read everything that you were saying. It was in the package. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Vice Mayor.
Hey, this is sort of, I understand what Mr. Jordan is saying, in that we could have a 1 acre lot this big on. Is there a way of saying we're going to calculate this on a percentage of an acreage?
Right now, we currently have a total amount of area that can be used in any zoning category.
Okay.
So what we could say is, and I can bring this information back to you at the next meeting, is we could do some work to see, we could even use Mr. Jordan's property and identify whether there would be sufficient area to do that without going over the percentage. And if not, then perhaps you want to say for temporary structures, you could go for X percent above that, because remember, it is temporary. But if you get over 1,000 square feet of new impervious surface, now you have to go through stormwater.
Ooh.
And so that is the only reason that would not happen, is in some cases, people have actually planned for future development and made more stormwater capacity than they need.
Okay.
In that case, we would know, and they would have to go through the stormwater, because we would be able to look at their existing calculations.
Okay, thanks.
Member Stokel.
Thank you. One, very impressive having this back to us so quickly. I want to commend you on that. Two, I'm looking at the maps, and to Member Jordan's point, if I'm reading the maps correctly, I'm not seeing much of a difference between PID less than 5 acres and 5 acres and greater. Is that correct? Okay. Yeah, I'm on 387 is the page I'm on, and 388.
They gave me a computer where the squirrel doesn't run very fast. Apparently we'll have to speak to John Sellers about this later.
Yeah, and it's okay. I'm okay with how it's written. Obviously, I want to hear from our speakers as well. And I do feel like we could amend it if we needed to in the future. I'm fine with how it's written. But to Member Jordan's point, from what I'm seeing, I don't feel like if we lower it to an acre, I don't see that it would be much of an impact. And then I was just curious about your take on the M1, 2, and 3. If you noticed any significant potential consequences of doing that as well.
Well, I do agree that there is not a lot of differences between the 5 acres. And actually, the first time that we discussed this, would it be permitted in all of the industrial zonings. But we thought we would come in with a conservative.
Okay, which makes sense.
Allow the community to kind of deal with how and think about this.
Okay.
You good?
Yes, thank you.
All right, could we call the cards, please?
We have one card. It's David Mandermack.
Thank you. Thank you for sitting through all the fluoride and everything else.
I'm in favor of fluoride. I'd like to thank you all. This is obviously we're in the space business. We're kind of used to being known as blazing trails into space, but this sounds like we're blazing a trail right here in Titusville where we live. Being a pathfinder, if you will, on something that maybe the city in the future will need for other purposes other than our immediate. We do have 62 acres, of which 12 have been developed and have processing facilities on it. Between those many facilities, we have 180 parking spaces, plus we have roads that connect the various locations in between. So I'd like to thank Peggy and staff for working with us at the speed with which they have. I don't know that Astrotech has ever been in city meetings before, so this is new for us, obviously new for y'all. But given the challenge that we gave the city, I'm impressed by how fast this has gone and how well that they have worked with our facility management to provide us with information that we could send back to them on, well, based on what you're telling us, this is what we think we could do. The placement of these temporary office spaces would sit on non-parking areas that would actually be connectors between parking areas. And to the point about the fire marshal, if you will, we've worked closely with whoever that is, and and they've seen, I think, the same plans that we've provided Peggy's team. Doesn't appear to be a problem for them because access to the parking is unimpeded, and so they have wide swing rooms to get to the parking areas that also provide us with access to the buildings. So it's not going to be a problem for parking or access to the buildings for emergency purposes. And it does provide us with maintaining the parking slots that we already have. The buildings sit on paved pathways, if you will. They're connecting roads between the parking areas, and so the water runoff will run off the roof and then onto pavement and then into the existing water retention areas that we have. I've been at AstroTech about 6 years. I've never seen water get, it doesn't collect in our water retention areas. I guess we're pretty high off the ground. NASA uses AstroTech as and some of the other launch teams out there uses it as a safe haven. We're 25 miles inland.
Pause 1 second for me. First of all, I propose 3 more minutes. Okay, we got that. And good time to restart. I don't think I got your name and address for the record.
I'm sorry, David Mandernack, 2645 Pine Court.
Perfect. Yeah, 3 more minutes. Go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Rain.
Rain.
Oh, yeah. So our water retention area, the property is about 25 feet above sea level. So we're so high and inland that the launch teams who have satellites that are at risk during hurricane season can bring them into our facilities just to protect them and then march them back out after the hurricane. So water runoff is not a problem. NASA calls our facility a fortress in that regard. So we're well known within the space community, used by all contractors and government agencies. And the problem and the need for this office space, again, is we have 2 large NASA missions that are normally separated by time, and they're overlapping. And we have places to put the satellites, we have places to put the crews, the equipment. We just don't have enough office space for all the people who are going to show up simultaneously. 2 big missions. And I would love to have you be able to come and see them when they arrive. Next week, the largest payload transporter in the world is going to go from the Kennedy Space Center up into Titusville and have to negotiate that turn at Grissom to come into our facility. So it's not unimportant what goes on in Titusville. And so the ability to have this flexibility would be very welcome, and I appreciate, again, the help from the city to accomplish this.
Well, thank you. And first of all, I'd like to see that, make that turn. But that, I really do. But that being said, again, thank you, Ms. Busaka. And you said the last time you were here, and it stuck with me, that, and this is something that we're kind of blazing a new trail here through you, because this is kind of how we are in the space program now. It's fast, it's furious, and it's multifaceted.
Well, and if I may,
yeah.
It transcends us. And there's an example in our complex, I won't make mention of it, you could imagine, of a facility that is large, office space, and they plan to put a lot of people in there. They also need to modify the inside of the building. So people are coming from all over the country to arrive into Titusville to work in this facility that they're working on. They need perhaps at times to move some of the people out that are showing up into temporary office space that's in the parking lot, because that's the only place they can put them and have them work functionally. So it allows flexibility for events where you just cannot quite make everything work schedule-wise.
And again, that elaboration on that goes back to we have to, and again, Ms. Bisaka and staff is making that work that way with your input, et cetera. We've got to be ready for, this isn't really, in my mind, this isn't just about you all anymore. This is about the future of the fast-moving space program. So with that in mind, I appreciate, you're kind of the first one. And I got the feeling as things go on, this council and the next council and the next council, this is going to be a factor. So this particular thing, Ms. Busaka, that you've really got it going quick,
yes,
it's going to be a big deal. Member Jordan.
Yeah, a couple of questions. You're okay with everything that Ms. Busaka has described?
Yes.
Okay. I still have a concern because I know the space business, and just because you say 6 months, something can happen for sure. So I really like for us to change that. Instead of saying come back to council, maybe have city manager or staff to determine if another 2 months is acceptable without coming to us and asking for permission. I don't think we should be involved in that process, in my opinion, for sure. Gosh, he's writing hard.
Member Robinson.
Yes, two things that I think the council's to stay involved with the response to that, and also the area that 1 acre versus 5 acres. I think that should be looked at very closely, not just a arbitrary decision made, because we don't know, as the mayor said, we don't know where this is going to lead us in the future, and we make some decisions that are not well thought out at this point. It's going to be difficult to change things down the road.
That's a good point. Member Stokel.
Yep, Member Robinson just kind of said what I was going to say. I think it should still come back to council, and if we're seeing a trend where we keep on extending, maybe then look at amending it to a year or something. But I do think the council should stay involved, and then yes, the 1 acre versus 5, I want to make sure that, we just have a little bit more information on that. I feel like it will be fine.
Perhaps some flexibility in that, because I think the needs are going to vary between program and program. Member Jordan.
Well, you just said what I was thinking. We need some flexibility, so I disagree with Stokel and that Robinson guy over there. But I just believe, Reverend Robertson, you're welcome, Councilman Robinson. But I just know that we just need to be pliable and flexible in our decision making. I just don't see, a government agency, if we got 6 months to come back to council and ask for permission, it just seems like it's kind of overburdened. But if that's what council wants, then that's fine. The 1 acre versus 5 acres, I think you explained to us that you all arbitrarily came up with the 5 acres. But looking at it and seeing what makes more sense to me is the right thing to do for sure.
Ms. Busaka, I think you have plenty of information. I think a trailblazer is what this is about for the future of space and the needs they're going to have. I never thought about that until this came before us. And the way you spoke last time about, and again, how you could have 2 projects at the same time and they can overlap and you don't have the space. And we've got to be able to help with that. So thank you so much for being here. And again, it's a long wait, but I think it's important. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you again, Ms. Busaka. And City Manager.
Yes, sir. We're on to item 10A, which is Ordinance 13-2021 relating to impact fee credit transfers, and the City Attorney will read this first reading.
Ordinance number 13-2021, an ordinance of the City of Titusville, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 34, Procedures, to include provisions related to transfer of impact fee credits consistent with state law, specifically amending Section 34-426, impact fee credits, providing for severability, repeal of conflicting ordinances, an effective date, and incorporation into the code.
The public hearing for this ordinance is scheduled to be conducted by the City Council on June 8th, 2021, beginning at 6:30 p.m. The Planning and Zoning Commission considered this ordinance during their meeting on May 19th and recommended approval 7-0.
Any council members, staff? With that, there is no action required. We move on.
On to 10B, which is Ordinance 14-2021, Low Impact Development, LID. The Titusville Environmental Commission considered this ordinance at their May 12, 2021 meeting and continued it to their June 9th, 2021 meeting. The Planning and Zoning Commission considered this ordinance at their May 19th, 2021 meeting and tabled the item until the TEC makes their recommendations. So staff has requested to council that we withdraw this to allow time for TEC and the P&Z to make their recommendations to you.
Vice Mayor Nelson.
What do you guys think about maybe giving them a time frame for this also? I don't want to see it drag on too much longer. Maybe the first meeting in July, which is going to make this a miserable July meeting. Ms. Basaka's laughing at us.
It's going to end up being next day, July.
I think we're going to be past our 10 o'clock bedtime. So
we're going to try to load you up on your June 8th one, so it'll be a little bit more balanced in July.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
So that would be my suggestion.
Yeah, I certainly think if we just get the word to them that, we would like it at a certain time, but I also think that, they've already sent an email that they're trying to put things off to the side because they're working on this and they're working on that. I get it on both sides, but I don't want us to come across as saying, okay, now we're throwing you guys this deadline, that deadline, and the other deadline. I just want it to come across that we need to get it going. We need to get the traffic rolling, and we do look at the vote to see what they're saying. So with that said, I agree. If we want to throw a deadline out there, that's fine.
And we'll pass that along to both of those boards for their consideration. On to the next item is 11, which is no old business, and on to 12A, which is the North Brevard Economic Development Zone FY 2022 proposed operating budget with the city's contribution. Each year, the North Brevard Economic Development Zone is required to obtain approval from the Titusville City Council for its proposed operating budget utilizing the city's contribution as defined in the North Brevard Economic Development Zone Interlocal Agreement. And Mr. Troy Post is here to describe this action. Good evening, Troy.
Good evening. How are you doing?
Name and address for the record, sir.
So I am Troy Post, and I'm the Executive Director for the North Brevard Economic Development Zone. My new address now is 7101, which is US 1. Tom Statham Park is where our office is located, just south in Titusville. But I'm here to make the formal request of the Zone Board of Directors to approve the budget for the next year. Just so you remember, we have actually 2 TIFs that we manage, 2 of these tax increment financing districts. One of them includes all of the city proper for Titusville. The other takes in all the unincorporated area around Titusville to the north and to the south, most of the area that's north of State Road 528. With the city's TIF, the documentation that you should have received about a week or so ago from us shows a couple of spreadsheets. We provided you with the spreadsheet that showed what the county TIF was going to do, what the proposed budget is. This still has to be approved, of course, by the county commission. They won't take up that matter until August, September timeframe. But we also included in the spreadsheet the budget that we anticipate for the next year with the city's TIF. Several years ago, when we would come before this body, we were looking at revenues being generated just around $20,000 to $30,000 annually, so not a lot of money. But we're pleased to report that the way the area has grown, the way that the property valuation has taken place in the last few years, that the TIF now is expected to generate over $500,000. That's the city's portion. So all that project work that we've been doing over the last few years, everything from Titus Landing to some of the business out in the industrial park. All of that, of course, is adding to the taxable value for the tax base, and that's great because what we'd like to do is have those businesses share the burden for supporting the kind of services that all of our residents like to see, and it just lowers the tax burden on residences. So we think we've had a pretty good track record. The last year has been a real good year for us despite the pandemic. We've had a lot of business success, some new industry coming into town. We found out last week that the project that we came before you about a month ago on, the armaments manufacturer. They have selected Titusville for their location. It's a Dark Storm Industries. We expect the EDC to put out a press release about this over the next week or so. So we're looking forward to welcoming them into the community. And we've had some other good successes this year, which is part of the documentation that we also sent to show some of the summary of our successes this year. So it's been a great year. We ask that you please consider approving the budget for the next year. The three things I just wanted to mention real quickly about next year's budget. So there is a project that we have been working on with city staff, and I don't see Sean still here, but he was here earlier today. There is a need for a sanitary sewer extension along a section of US 1. Some of you may be aware of this, but in the coming weeks, we anticipate coming back to you to see if you might be interested in incentivizing a developer to install that line, which would allow a number of new commercial developments to take place. It would also, as we understand it, improve the conditions on a part of the existing sewer line, which could reduce any kind of issues for the Indian River Lagoon being impacted during periods of heavy rains and storms. So that's one thing that you will see that's on the proposed budget. We tried to put an estimate on what we think the cost of that incentive could be over the next year if the council is so inclined to approve that. The other thing I wanted to mention is that we anticipate having some staff added to the zone. So it's been kind of lonely the last 8 years working with the Economic Development Zone, but I've had tremendous support help from a lot of different offices, including the city. Appreciate that. But the time has come to actually add some staff members to the zone. So we anticipate bringing on first an administrative assistant to help us with some of the things that we do. And then eventually we'll bring on a project manager, somebody that we're calling an economic development specialist, and they'll be assigned to work some of the deals and some of the projects that we work on, all because the workload is starting to increase, and that's certainly a good thing. So those staff allocations are not reflected in the next year's budget. There is a portion of my salary that the city will take on. We've been doing that the last few years. But my understanding from talking with Mr. Larice is that as we move forward with these two new staff positions, we may also come back at a future date and see if there might be a small percentage of those salaries that would be covered by the city's TIF. The last thing I wanted to mention is that we may be going through a name change with the Commerce Park. I know that Councilman Jordan will be impacted by this, but we have had talks with the EDC, with Commissioner Pritchett's office, and some others about changing the name of the park from Spaceport Commerce Park to Exploration Park West. This will allow us to build on the marketing efforts that Space Florida has done. So that's a lot of information. I didn't mean to cram that all into just a few moments, but I'll see if you have any questions about some of the stuff we're working on.
Questions?
Not a question, but certainly a comment about the sewer construction project that will be coming before the council. I think it's a really smart thing. Council, as you know, we don't do future projects for sewer or do sewer projects now for future projects later. We normally just take care of the sewer we have here, but this actually will allow us to expand to the south, where there are some projects that are in the works that is going to help the city development, basically. And as Troy said, there are some lift stations that are at capacity and certainly need some help for sure. So basically, this is about a developer paying up front and we paying him after the fact. So he's actually pushing the money, and then we'll pay him to do that. And I think it's certainly a good balance of public and private funds getting together and doing something that's going to benefit our citizens here. So I'm looking forward to that. And just the economic development zone in general, it has been really, really good for North Brevard. There's a lot of great projects coming up, and certainly appreciate Troy. I mean, you've been here 8 years. I can't believe it. I remember your first day here for sure. And I think that's one of those times in my career that I'm very proud that I was part of making the decision to bring you here, because you've done a great job for North Brevard, and certainly appreciate that for sure.
Well, I do appreciate that, but I must say that, we have a great board of directors, and I've enjoyed working with all of them over the years. And of course, all of you working with the city council and also city staff. That's been a big part of the effort for what we've been able to do. So thank you.
You good? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd add to that. As the mayor, I've been able to sit in on the board, on the zone. I'm not a voting member or anything like that, but I am allowed to speak, and I speak from the Titusville point of view. And I'm very impressed, and I've said it at the meetings. When I first got there, I just pretty much watched and listened, and mostly that's what I try to do now. There's so much going on, and unless you sit in a meeting like that, sometimes you don't realize, and Troy just kind of said it, how much we're growing and how much potential there is to continue to grow. And the programs that come before us and talk about that we're in the final three, or that we're being considered. And sometimes people don't quite understand that it's, we give this benefit or that benefit and this help and that help. Well, ultimately, as we spoke about the previous one that came before us, $50,000 a year jobs, those aren't out there all over the place. So again, Troy, you do a great job, and you have a team that does a great job. The Titusville representatives that speak and give the facts and details, including city manager, do a great job. And I can't say it enough. The people who sit on that board are so qualified. And they don't just go in there and start saying, "Hey, this works, that works." No, they give the other side. They say, "What about this? Is this going to benefit the citizens?" And I hear that all the time. And I hear them say it all the time. We're here to benefit the citizens. And that's top priority, and I appreciate hearing that. So very impressed. Anyone else? Okay, then we are here to, anything from the staff? Nothing from the staff?
No, sir.
Okay, any cards? Then I need a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the North Brevard Economic Development Zone fiscal year 2022 proposed operating budget.
Second.
I have Mr. Jordan with a motion, Vice Mayor with the second. Roll call vote.
Member Robinson?
Yes.
Member Jordan?
Yes.
Mayor Diesel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nelson?
Yes.
Member Stokel?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Troy. Thank you, Zone. Keep up the good work. Petitions and requests from the public. You are always the only one here when you get to speak. How you doing?
Good. How's it going tonight, guys?
Good.
Nathan Susher, 860 Allendale Street. I'm here tonight to present an idea we were talking about at the last Libertarian meeting this month. And it actually similar to what we were just discussing with them. We spend a lot of time as a county, as a city, trying to incentivize the betterment of society, the betterment of the community, whether to bring in companies with more jobs. But we would like to see more of rewarding the best of us within the community, trying to use our citizens to incentivize others instead of companies that don't live here, such as tax abatements for people who do something amazing. We heard the story about the lady who pulled the child out of the burning car on Columbia Boulevard last week. To me, that's something amazing. Or the doctors who managed to work through the pandemic 90 hours a week at Parrish. There are many examples, and I know it's a very slippery slope, and I don't know the legalities to it, but we thought it was a wonderful idea and just wanted to present it. Our best example was the lady who built Hummingbird Pantry. I don't know her. I've only met her once or twice, but during the pandemic, she fed more people than probably the Bricks Project. And if she owns a house in Titusville, I'm assuming her taxes are less than the Bricks Projects are. So I think that is somebody who would be wonderful to get a tax abatement. Just as a reward for being one of the best citizens of the city, and incentivize others to move forward and follow in those footsteps. Thank you.
Thank you. I think your intent is solid and wholesome, like you always are. City Attorney, do you want to comment on the legalities of that?
I agree with you. It is problematic because taxes are per the statute, and when you collect taxes for a certain purpose, they need to be used for that purpose. We do have, that being said, whether it's through neighborhood services or other grant programs we can create. But when it comes to tax abatements, the reason we can do that is that's something that's provided for by state statute for economic development. They provide these kind of tax abatements, and there's processes and procedures we have to follow to do that. So we don't have a lot of flexibility when it comes to tax, but we could certainly explore whatever type of maybe grant programs could be available. But in my opinion, it wouldn't be something where it would be a tax abatement. It would be some other type of incentive.
Yeah, and we've kind of discussed certain things like this before in my 5 years, 6 years, whatever it is. And there are the legalities in the state statutes that limit us on what we can do with what we tax and what we don't tax and what we abate. So with that, again, I just think that you do a great job of thinking these things through, and you've spoken about 4 different things, and I think they're all worthy of talking about. And maybe we get with staff or city manager or city attorney, maybe guide us a little bit on the possibilities of what maybe we could do. I'm not saying this is going to happen next week or even next year, but I think it's worthy because tax abatements get real. Our hands are very tied there. But I think some sort of incentive is not a bad thing where we can. And the key word there is where we can. All right? Thank you very much. City manager.
Yes, sir. We're down to item 14A, which is the mayor's report, followed by the council reports.
I'll have council go first. Anybody? Member Robinson.
Oh, yes, I would just, looking at your report, it covers everything that I attended. So, you stated that. Just tell them I was with you on some of them. That's all I need to know.
And truly, Member Robinson is with me at a lot of them. And I've been out and about. And as a matter of fact, there's a lot of things on there that don't necessarily qualify to be there. Went to 2 THS orchestras last week and went to the Titusville High School Jamboree just to kind of just be there and support. I mean, that's really visibility, and I've said this all the time, and again, Member Robinson, I can testify. Matter of fact, all of you guys are places. Yeah. But, and I've always said, especially as an AD to my coaches, you can be a lot of things, but the most important thing you can be is be there. Be there. And that's what I try to do, and sometimes it gets hectic. But you guys, as a council, I can tell you that I feel like you guys do a great job of being there. We're not always all the same theirs, but we're there, and I appreciate that very much. Member Jordan.
Oh, good. I've got some good news, and you all just have to agree that it is good news for sure. That's all I need. I'm happy then. No, if you remember some months ago, I was concerned about the traffic that was coming from the Space Center and not turning right or north towards Titusville because there really isn't a sign that depicts Titusville. So, since I don't take no for an answer, I actually found someone in the traffic division for the state who actually has a program that basically said that his department has the ability to approve community aesthetic features which are enhancements installed to reflect the surrounding community's identity and culture. So, the CAFs are installed by the local agency, city, county, through their permit process. So we could actually have a sign that shows what Titusville is all about, and it will point to it. Now, I didn't realize it, but I drove over there because I was nosy about the new projects and new development that's on that street. And notice there is a sign that says Titusville, right, and Cocoa. I mean, it's just a boring sign. So apparently we can actually get a sign that depicts Titusville, probably colorful, that, will entice people to come to us. So I ask that you give permission for staff to look at what we can do, design a sign, bring it back to us, and then do some permitting and get the sign up on 4 or 5.
And just a clarification, that has to go to the state for their approval once you make your recommendation.
Absolutely. Right? They want to do it, but we have to come up with the design that we want. So we just need staff to work with them and find out what the ins and outs are, but we can get another sign besides the basement.
Well, that is good news.
Yeah.
And that's exciting. I'm for it. You said that, I think, one of your first meetings. So, I mean, I'm all for it. I endorse you on that. I'm just not
Thank
sure
you.
where we go with that. I mean,
Thank you very much.
To the staff.
Yeah, it goes to the staff. And they have to work.
Would you like advisability for us to
Yeah.
do some research on it and come back to council
Yeah,
with?
and I'll send you the email
Yeah.
that I got. So,
And then the recommendation for the design of what will be on it will be the fun part.
One of Robert Jordan's emojis.
yeah, that would be cool. Everybody be coming to Titusville then.
Are you
Thank
good?
you. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm done.
Vice Mayor.
One, I want to say happy birthday to Member Stokel. She had a birthday yesterday.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
She's still
So
under
happy
40.
birthday. I wanted to say it's not Hospice of St. Francis now. It's changed its name.
Yeah.
But they are, can you think of it?
Reflections.
Reflections.
Yes.
They're looking at doing their Lights of Love downtown this year, which will be nice. So they found 2 oak trees, 2 spots, and I hope we can help them out. I don't know what they need, but I'm sure they'll be contacting us. One was down in Veterans Park, and the other was at the Pritchard House. So I suggested they reach out to
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the first location.
Veterans Park.
Okay.
And the second was Pritchard House.
Yes, ma'am.
So hopefully they'll be reaching out to you. And the third thing I wanted to talk about is last year we had talked about an area, which was the old city garage on the Leon and Bland. There's an area there backs up to the bike trail. And we have talked about, could we make it into a park? My question is sort of, are we still interested in doing that? Everything over the last year has sort of gotten, with COVID, this is something we still want to do. I talked to the city manager about it and Kevin about it, and I hate to see them jump hoops if we go, no, we don't want to do it. So to me, it was a good area because the neighbors are saying there's prostitution, there's drug use in that area. It is city property. It does back up to the bike trail. So my thought was I'd rather see a park there or someplace people could sit and enjoy the view, enjoy the trees as opposed to the prostitutes and the druggies.
Can we say something about that?
When she's done, are you done?
Yeah, I just didn't know if we wanted to continue with that idea or not.
Well, I'm going to let Member Jordan say a word, and then I'm going to hear from Kevin. And then I'm going to say a word, and we'll see if anybody else wants a word. Go ahead.
Okay. I like parks just like everybody else, but we got 26 of them in the city. There's way too many parks if you ask me for sure. I do know of a park that they had in Rockledge, and even though you were talking about prostitutes and everything, and there were some bad things going on, so just turning into a park doesn't eliminate. I think it accommodates, if anything, in my humble opinion. And when you turn something into the park, now there's extra maintenance and resources that you have to deal with for another park. So I don't know if I'm really familiar with where you were talking about, but why do we need another park is my question.
My thought was we're going to have to maintain that piece of property anyway because it is city property. And I don't know that we have to turn it into a park. But if we maintain it, we throw a bench out there and you clear out the underbrush, then you don't have a place for people to hide. That was my thought.
Kevin.
Well, we don't maintain
yes,
all
please.
city
Give
properties.
me what you got.
Oh, sorry. We don't actually maintain all city properties. If they're unimproved, we don't maintain them. The city has an inventory of many properties which we don't cut the grass on. We don't trim trees. They are left in their natural state. This one borders an old railroad right-of-way. This, as far as I can tell, has never been touched since the railroad vacated it. They're used.
Right.
It's still their property. We don't have a parks department, so when we do, I use Kirk Point as an example, we pay JBs to cut the grass. We do maintenance on the facility itself. Same with splash pad. We've had to absorb that within our facility. So as you mentioned, the more we add, the more we absorbed within functions that are not really built for parks. We don't do park maintenance. We do heavy construction mainly. From our standpoint, it really depends on what you'd like to see there. If we're talking benches, we can have benches up around the rail trail itself. We have a wide right of way there. If we want to extend down into it is around the corner from rail trail, so you have to come off of the main part of the trail to access the property. So if there's more to it, we would need to know what council kind of envisions, and then we can go from there. Everything from benches costs $1,000, but pavilions cost $20. So,
oh my God.
So
I would
things,
start off
things
leaning
get quick.
One of the things about bicyclists, to place a bench, you should really talk to a bicyclist to see if that's a place that they would stop, because a lot of us are going to our destination, and unless you're hot or got to use the restroom, you're not going to stop.
No. Okay. Just before we got into it, I wanted to clarify that, because last year we talked about, this is something we're interested in. And then the question is, are we still interested in it before Kevin does any work?
Well, I appreciate the reminder. I kind of feel like, people can say a lot of things, and they do. But one place we're not short is parks. 26 parks, and 7 of them are riverfront. Are there some areas where we maybe could use some more parks? If I was going to say that, I would probably say more towards South Titusville, where I'm at in Indian River City. But that being said, as you get more towards downtown and the old by the river, we have plenty of parks. And again, I kind of agree that the thing with a bench is real tricky. It sounds really good if the right people sit on the bench for the right reasons. But on the flip side, if they're sitting on the bench for all the wrong reasons, doing all the wrong things, now we've provided a place for them to hang out. So it's a tough call. And I will even tell you that placing benches was quite a discussion at Titusville High School, because if you place benches at the wrong place, the wrong people are going to sit on them for the wrong reasons. And that doesn't mean we don't have great students and all that. I'm just saying that it really was a big decision on where we were going to place our benches. And I think this is equally or more so important. So I think right now, I think that it's something that to be reminded. And if we find out that, we're really getting some clamoring for a park in that area, I haven't heard that. But then we can start looking at it. But right now, I would say I'd put that on hold. That's just me.
Everybody agree?
Member Stokel, how do you feel?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Member Robinson, did you comment on that one?
We have enough park.
Thank you.
Okay.
And a few words.
With a little accent.
Tell us what you really feel.
I'm just asking before poor Kevin has to go work.
I appreciate that. No, I think that was the right way to do it, and I appreciate that.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, you're good? All right, Member Stokel?
Yes.
Member Jordan, you back up or no?
Oh, no.
Okay, good. We're taking a little while to get through our time here. A couple things I want to say and make sure I get said. First of all, I'm kind of like you right now. I've got it written down where to put it. I will attend the Titusville High graduation on Friday. I will attend the astronaut graduation on Saturday. Which, EFSC, I'm sure, is probably in the middle of that or getting ready to do that. Our 8th graders are becoming 9th graders. Our 6th graders are heading in the middle. It's a big time. And I'm really proud to say, and I actually talked to Misty Belford the other day, and I remember watching the 14-hour school board meetings when they're trying to figure out how they're going to make this all work. And I said to the superintendent at that time, Mark Mullins, we had actually I think it was a year event down there at Vieira, the Vieira Charter. And I said to him then, I said, man, there is no right answer. There was no, they beat it up one side and down the other, and my hat's off to the entire school board. My hat's off to the superintendent. My hat's off to the teachers, the parents, the students. They got through an entire school year. And there's a lot of states and counties that can't say that. So with that, we're at the time of year now where congratulations to all of them for getting through this. It didn't go without hiccups and problems. Of course it did. But at the same time, the state of Florida, Brevard County, and some other places for sure, we had a very, very normal school year. I helped coach high school football this year. We had a very normal football season. Now, some teams had to go on delay because something happened and they had to miss 2 weeks, but got through the state playoffs and everything. So what I really, after saying all that, congratulations, I want to congratulate the seniors who in Titusville and Astronaut and Space Coast for that matter. Congratulations, it's a big deal. EFC graduates, UCF graduates, it's a big deal. So congratulations, we are there. I have to definitely say happy anniversary, speaking of happy birthdays, happy anniversary to my wife, 42 years tomorrow. Good thing your microphone's off. Anyway, I don't know what to say to you. Okay, but I want to make sure I got that in. And now, make sure I don't miss anything before I get to something a little serious. Stan brought it up, Citizen Johnston, and I'm sure you're watching. He was concerned about the 10 minutes of consent agenda, and I think I am too, but for other reasons. So with that said, I would at least like to introduce the possibilities of staff or whoever's supposed to do it, look at how other people do this. Because I know we changed the consent agenda time to speak, because if there were 35 of them, somebody could sign up for 35 of them and get 3 minutes on every one of them. Well, right now, if we, thank goodness we have citizens, because we only really have, to my knowledge, one person who signs up for consent agenda. One citizen. I can't really recall the last time, and when we do, it's normally something very personal to them. They talk about the one topic, and they're normally done within their 3 minutes. But I won't say I'm concerned, but let's just pretend 5 people wanted to talk about so many things, and now they all have 10 minutes. Now we're closing in on an hour, and I'm just not sure what the best way to do this is. Stan, on the flip side, feels, or Citizen feels like, and of course Stan said that I don't know if it's constitutional, and I don't think I'm getting my time or whatever. I would like to see at the very least how other people are doing this. Now, I realize they don't all have somebody that'll stand up and talk about 17 items. I don't think there's too many of those going. But I'd like to hear from Member Stokel.
Yep, just to that point, I would be curious to see as well. I think what we have going right now, I'm okay with in regards to, I do feel like people are getting their time. I feel like we've done a pretty good job. If somebody is on point on the topic and they need more time, we give them time. So I don't feel like anybody's not getting their constitutional right at this point. However, I am curious to see what other people are doing, just because I know I have friends out of state that they don't even let their citizens speak on any consent agenda items. So I'm curious to see if that's out there within the state. But yeah, that's my take on it. I feel like right now, I haven't personally felt like anyone hasn't gotten their time. So I'm okay in that regard. But I am curious to kind of see what other communities are doing.
And I would say the same thing, and I'm only talking about consent agenda. I think that sometimes even for the speaker, and I think that I am doing my best, and I use the word stay on topic a lot, and I am doing my best, and I think that sometimes the citizen is doing a better job of trying to be on topic, and sometimes citizens float away. And it just seems like 10 minutes a long time for me to stay focused on that person staying focused. And it's just like, man, that's a long time. So, it's not so long if you're over there or if you're down there, because I was there. It's like, good luck, Mayor. You got this. But 10 minutes is a long time, and I'm constantly trying. And again, I think to some degree, the citizen has been cooperative, and much more so than, and I think I'll just leave it at that. I think that, so I'm not really pointing at fingers. I guess I'm really saying that there's a concern from the citizen. I'm not getting enough time. And there's a concern from me. It's too much time for me to try to manage. It's a constant stay on task. And again, I think in some cases you've seen, I think he's trying sometimes. Sometimes it's just what the things I talked about at the end. Vice Mayor Nelson.
I was just going to say, remember that we are allowing people to email us. So they may not get 3 minutes per item, but they also have the ability to email us and say, this is what we think about the different items. It would be interesting to see if any other cities prohibit people from speaking on consent agenda. I'm sure they.
Now, the agenda that people email you to now was set up specifically for COVID, which we're probably going to withdraw here pretty soon. But citizens still have the ability to email you directly and or executive secretary who will immediately email them to you. Any staff member that receives an email wanting it to go to City Council, we immediately send that to you. And if it's something that all of you should see, we do that as well. So I think the ability to communicate with council is a very...
Well, let me make it clear. I'm simply talking about how to do consent agenda. I think everything's fine. I think that meetings are going well. I've heard that from a lot of people, surprisingly, that I didn't realize so many people cared about how the meeting went. But I have gotten a lot of comments. Some city staff, some just watch. But that's my concern isn't about people getting enough time. There are times when I have to talk to people about trying to stay on the 3 minutes, because I think sometimes people have been used to just going as long as they want to go, and we'll just keep on extending time. I think that that's fine. The 3 minutes has been good. I think the whole group of people who spoke on the floor, there are some folks that, I think we want to extend because we're not done hearing. I mean, you want to hear more, and there's other folks that it's like, okay, we got it. But my only question, and it kind of came up when Stan said that this could be unconstitutional and I'm not getting my time. Well, I don't think that's true. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, is this a good time to look and see how other people are doing it? Because I too have heard that consent agenda in some places, they get 3 minutes for the whole consent agenda. I don't care how many things are on there, you've got 3 minutes. And we're given 10, and sometimes we've got a citizen who just comes up and say, I agree. And I would like to see, and truthfully, every citizen that spoke to some degree, they have something to offer. If they would stay focused, they could. So all I'm talking about is finding out how other people do it. So, Member Jordan. Oh, you were gone.
I turned it off.
Okay. So with that, City Attorney, if you could, and I can certainly do my own little research, we are in a little different situation, but I also think that the Constitution and the laws are the same everywhere. And if somebody is saying consent agenda, you got 3 minutes. Consent agenda, you got 6 minutes. I don't know. I think Member Stokel said something about that they're not allowed to get on consent agenda. I can tell you right now, if they did it at the school board, you were in the school board. My goodness gracious, those things are 56, 67, 100 long. What if somebody wanted to talk about all those? I mean, maybe talk to the school board. How do they do it? Because do that people talk on the consent agenda there?
Right. I can tell you the law changed several years ago, that citizens have to be given the reasonable opportunity to speak on any proposition before council. That was not the law many years ago, but in the last few years that law changed. So then the question is, what's the reasonable opportunity on a proposition before council? We looked at this when we made this change previously. It was about a year ago, year and a half, maybe 2 years now, on going to the 10 minutes. And you'll see we provided you a matrix of different entities and how they handle their consent. We can certainly update that, and I'll do that. What I'll also like to do is, I work with an attorney by the name of Nikki Day. She represents several cities. She's with Bryant Miller Olive, certified local government. So if you want to give me that flexibility within I have an account for outside counsel that I can use to pay to have conversations and have to look at our procedures. So if I had that flexibility with you, I wouldn't mind, maybe I'll engage her as well, because she represents several cities on the other coast. So I won't just be looking here, but I'd like to also look over on the West Coast and in Central Florida and get some input from her on how those cities are doing it. So if I have that authorization, I can use some of the money in my budget that I currently have, wouldn't be for outside counsel, to speak with her and maybe get some feedback on how they're handling it over there. And I'll come back to you guys. I wouldn't say it'd be next meeting because I have to get into an agenda, but.
And I'm not looking at this as a pressing issue, but when the citizen brought it up, I thought this was a good time to say, how do other people do it? Is there anybody else out there that's saying you got 10 minutes if you want more than 3? Which is a whole lot better than when you had 3 for 30 items. I get that. So it's definitely been an improvement. I just want to be focused for the citizens. I want them to have their time, but I want it to be time that they're talking about the agenda item. And I just feel like that there's other play. And again, we have a unique situation. I get that. But I'd also like to see if the school board would actually, to me, be a great place to, man, their consent agenda covers 8 pages. And I think about every school that has something. The consent agenda generally are supposed to be and generally are pretty benign. You know, we've got to buy gas for the truck.
Correct.
We need
Routine,
tires.
non-discussion,
These are things that we
non-controversial.
really shouldn't have to be questioned on. And other places I don't think are. And, you know, I certainly get an ordinance, first reading, second reading, and all that. But if there are other people that are saying, these are benign, you know, we got to buy gas, or in school cases, you know, we've got to buy these 3 dozen books. This is not something we need to discuss. I don't know that we do or we don't. I just think it was worthy of the time to ask. Anybody else? I see none. City Manager.
Yes, sir. And I know we're getting close to Member Jordan's bedtime, so I'll be brief. We will run, as we're coming out of COVID, one more meeting with this particular setup in your chambers. Your first meeting in July, we have a new podium on order to replace the temporary one we put out. It should be here in July. All the chairs will be put back in place. We'll go back to the 2 tables. Our recommendation after speaking with the mayor is the eye contact that we have with our board is better when we are on the floor versus when we are on the wings. And I just want to make sure we have your concurrence as we finish up this setup, one more meeting, and we prepare for a new setup in July, if that's...
Just real curious, because we did talk about this, and my feeling was having sat over there and then having sat over there, somewhere over there, being up here, and it's really important for me, back and forth a lot. You can see I sure like doing this a lot better than this or this. I just think the eye contact and the visibility. Now, I would say, and I'm not sure how it is for you, Member Stokel, but it seems like City Attorney might be a little...
We moved the table actually this way for this meeting. And a second, our staff really likes sitting at a table now, and we have them on this side, so we'd like to continue with that because they're able to accomplish other tasks while they're waiting for their agenda to come up. So a couple minor changes. And the rules of your meeting that have been COVID related, which are currently on your agenda, we will relieve those and go back to our original rules that were pre-COVID. So I just wanted council to be aware of those changes as you're on your recess, so that you can think about it, any possible changes you would like to make for that. Second item, we have a letter of support for North Brevard Art League grant application for the mayor's signature. That is in my report, so if there's any objection to that, please let me know. I think we're all good to get the mayor to sign that. Check. I have a couple updates on the Transportation Planning Organization's recommendations on their projects for the upcoming year. They have removed the trail that runs from Amex Brewer Bridge to Play Linda, which actually was defunded as a result of COVID last year. They have ranked those 2 items as number 3 and number 4 of their approval list, which generally speaking, if you're that high up, you will get approved for this particular project. So we think those projects are going to be turned back on, and this is construction phase. So we're talking, we'll be ready to roll, and hopefully those 2 projects, though a very long project, a couple years in duration, but I think that will be a welcome to our city. Second, two projects that were fully funded that affect our city is, as we know, the NASA Causeway on the south side of our town. The bridge is fully funded. The bridge that I saw the design for looks very much like a MAX bridge. So I think that will be good for the space industry, especially Astrotech and those that are using that bridge. That will be a very long project, but I think when it gets done, it'll be a great project. And our staff is already thinking ahead. We'd like to uplight it like we do a MAX and have bookends for our city. I think that would be beautiful. Next, Parish Park, we all know that's been fully funded. The project for the expansion of South Street from Rock Pit to State Route 50, which is one of our most dangerous roads in our cities currently, when we have an accident, it's a bad accident because you got left turn at 55 miles an hour on that road, and it's very dark at night, it's very narrow, and the traffic counts are up quite a bit. So that project moved up to number 25, which is an amazing move because 2-3 years ago it was in the 400s of where it was in the project list. So it's up to 25. The FDOT themselves recognize the volume of that traffic and that in essence becomes a beltway around our city to help alleviate some of the traffic. We've provided them all of the projects, residential included, that we see now and in the future, and that prompted them to take a look at moving that up, which is additionally good news for us. And we'll just have to live with these major construction projects in the future, but I think all in all, when you're talking about our infrastructure and those items, that will really help out our city. So with that, on behalf of staff, we'd like to wish you a pleasant Memorial Day holiday weekend coming up, a 3-day weekend, well-deserved break, one meeting, then we'll get you to your recess. And I know I've encouraged staff to take a look at Friday off as well, and most of them are taking me up on that deal, so might not be too many people in City Hall on Friday. So with that, pending any of your questions, that concludes my briefing.
Very good. City Attorney. Council, anything?
One item. Sorry, Mr. Jordan, but we're really glad that Chick-fil-A has decided to locate their property on city property, and coming in 2021 is rather aggressive for Chick-fil-A. And
don't. You're on TV. Be quiet.
We were surprised. Normally, Chick-fil-A does an information campaign, billboards, and formal announcements, but apparently they've chosen to go a different route.
For anybody who is still here, I am convinced that was a senior prank. We'll leave it at that. We'll leave into the future. Anything else? No, sir, you're not allowed to hit that mic. Dismissed. Thank you.